all over the world, across all digital platforms, and right here on the Joy News channel. My name is Cecilia Dapaah, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the AM show, where we bring you news that matters and conversations that resonate with you. You know, I do this with Benjamin Akakbo, and in a bit, I will be serving you the news, the first bulletin on this channel. And after that, we'll get into the newspaper review section, where political scientist and head of the European Studies, Dr. Kwame Asasante, will join us for that segment. After that, AM Sports comes up next. Muftar Nabila Abdullahi will be here to bring you the latest updates in the world of sports. And then we pivot to our big stories. Now, you know, EOCO and OSPs clashing on the Cecilia Dapaah stashed cash scandal. And the latter alleges that some of the rich and powerful are paying journalists to attack the office of the special prosecutor. Where does this leave us in the fight against corruption? Is our fight against corruption in limbo? We'll interrogate these issues later on in the show. Also, limited registration exercise enters the second day today, but not on a clean slate, as power outages, internet disruptions, late start, system malfunctions, and so many other issues threaten the process. But the EC says it's on course, even as some political parties express their concern. We also have this on our table later on the show. And then we'll bring you AM Business. On that, Chamber of Young Entrepreneurs express concern about increasing cost of operation. James Ashen will be on the beat to tell us more today when we bring you that bit on AM Exclusive. So that's the lineup for this morning. You should join us with your comments, with your thoughts, either via phone or across all our social media platforms on Joy News TV. Welcome aboard the AM show. Let's start with the news. Welcome again to the AM show. Let's start with the news details now. The Office of the Special Prosecutor is alleging sponsored attacks on the work of the OSP. The work of the OSP has come under some levels of criticism from anti-corruption campaigners, civil society organizations, and the general public for failing to successfully prosecute a single corruption-related case since the establishment of the office 6 years ago. Speaking at the 14th Commonwealth Regional Conference of Heads of Anti-Corruption Agencies, currently ongoing in Accra, Director of Strategy, Research and Communications at the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Sami Dako, says most of these criticisms are sponsored. He also alleges that some journalists are also bribed to unduly criticize the OSP. James Aveji has more in the following report.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor has come under public scrutiny over the period for its inability to successfully prosecute any suspect or any corruption-related case. Now, a good section of Ghanaians believe that with the level of financing and autonomy granted the OSP, he should have been doing more than just investigations. Addressing some of these concerns at the 14th Conference of Heads of Anti-Corruption Bodies here in Accra, the Director of Strategy, Research and Communications of the OSP, Sami Dako, says that it is not the case that the OSP is not doing much, but some of these criticisms are actually sponsored to smear the office.
And then we also face what we call sponsored attacks and propaganda, where those who are very rich and powerful, when you are investigating them, they tend to be able to offer some monetary incentive to even journalists, and they will consistently be attacking you and spewing counter and false information against your outfit, all in a hope to create that impression that we are all the same, nobody is perfect. Why are you trying to prosecute somebody or investigate somebody as if you are a saint? But the idea is that those of us in the anti-corruption industry are not saints. We're just trying to go by the law.
He indicates that the omission of a certain act from the setup of the OSP is hindering their work.
When the lawmaker was putting together the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act, they took something very key out of it, which in implementing our law, we've discovered that it shouldn't have been done, which is what we call the unexplained wealth order. it was taken out of the OSP Act. And it's a very problematic matter for us because of the caliber of people we are to investigate. They are more complicated, they have more money, they have more people, they can get the best lawyers and all that. And this is a provision that would have helped us to do lifestyle audits in a better way. Currently, if we are doing a lifestyle audit, the onus lies on us throughout the entire investigation to show to the court how they committed the corruption. But if we have this, we are sure that when we're able to prove that your lawful income does not match your assets, then the burden shifts to you. We don't have that.
One key challenge the three investigative bodies, SHRAJ, IOCO, and the OXP, have bemoaned is the lack of domestic collaboration between them to address issues brought before them effectively.
Well, what some people call turf war. That is where maybe there is a particular issue that the two or more agencies have to collaborate. But one agency will think that if I cede my turf to another agency to collaborate or to take part, it is going to make me unpopular or is going to make the head of institution unpopular. There is always a rush or haste to take credit, unwarranted suspicion.
Director of Anti-Corruption at the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Stephen Azantilo, says there is the need for change of mindset among Ghanaians and leaders of anti-corruption agencies to help win the fight against corruption.
You can cheat public servants left, right, center. You can put people in jail. If one can put all those who are sitting here in jail and bring in new set of people, we still have corruption. So we have started doing what we call changing mindset, and that we are trying to. That's why we want to start with the educational system. We're looking at starting from the young children who are in school, trying to change their mindset about looking at the whole aspect of life, so that we see how we can fight corruption.
Participants across the African sub-region who gathered here have agreed that government need to get more committed towards the fight against corruption to win the continent of the canker. From the Kempinski Gold Coast Hotel here in Accra, my name is James Savaji, reporting for Joy News.
Go to the courts now, where the presiding judge trailing the case of Minority Leader Dr. Cecilia Dapaah for causing financial loss to the state says she does not want the case to travel beyond the end of July. The judge, Justice Ifeasewa Saributri, had earlier imposed a timeline of early May to deliver her judgment, but the deadline has been missed. The judge admonished the parties to deliver as expected of them to conclude the case before the next legal vacation. Legal Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante was in court and has come through with this report.
The High Court in Accra, presided over by Justice Ifeasewa Saributri, has said the trial of Dr. Cecilia Dapaah should not travel beyond the end of July. Earlier, the court had fixed May 3, 2024 for judgment, but that did not hold following some recent developments. Dr. Cecilia Dapaah, the current minority leader in Parliament, together with Richard Japaah, a private businessman, are standing trial for allegedly causing financial loss to the Republic in an ambulance deal in the sum of 2.37 million euros. Dr. Sylvester Animana, the second accused, was earlier charged together with the two persons, has now been discharged by the Attorney General's office, which filed a nolle prosequi to discontinue the charges against him. In court today, the court's attention was drawn to the fact that the lawyer for the third accused person, Thaddeus Sori, had filed witness statement for his client, but both lawyers for the state and the minority leader were served on the morning of the case being called again in court. Dr. Cecilia Dapaah and other accused persons are accused of willfully causing financial loss of 2.37 million euros to the state through a contract to purchase 200 ambulances for the Ministry of Health. The case has now been adjourned to 9th May at 12 noon for the third accused person to continue his evidence in chief. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, High Court Complex here in Accra.
Still in the High Court, family of an 11-year-old boy allegedly murdered by two teenagers for money ritual. say they are disappointed the case was not concluded on Tuesday. The High Court was expected to determine the fate of the two teenagers accused of the murder, but the case has been adjourned to June 24th for closing addresses and the judges summing up before the jury will announce its verdict. Harrison Mensah is a spokesperson for the family.
Well, obviously, we were expecting that the case judgment would be delivered today, but unfortunately, it didn't happen. We are so much disappointed, especially the mother and the father, because it has been a very difficult moment for them, and it has had a very big toll on them, because they want judgment to be delivered so that everybody will have his or her peace of mind to go about their duty. It's been over 3 years now, and we were given the date only to be disappointed today that the case has been adjourned to 24th of June. We only pray and hope that nothing crops up on the 24th and that judgment will be delivered and everybody will have his or her peace of mind to go about his or her normal duties.
And now from my election headquarters, quote, "I cannot hand over to someone who isn't pleased by anything I do. He'll just come and destroy everything I've built," unquote. Those were the words of President Akufo-Addo, who has once again said that the best person to succeed him is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. He said it wouldn't be advisable to vote for someone he defeated in the past election to succeed him after his term of office. He was speaking at Nsawam when he paid a visit to the Blue Skies company.
I cannot hand over to someone who isn't pleased by anything I do. He will just come and destroy what I've built. So I'm pleading with you to vote for a trustworthy person with whom I've worked for 7 years. He goes by the name Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
The friend of Mahamadou Bawumia.
Meanwhile, General Manager of the company, Janet Luthroth, shared with the toll the unstable power supply is having on the company.
On energy, frankly, I don't know whether you saw the generator plants we have on site, but we are a fresh produce chilled factory. So what it means is that the whole factory is a fridge. And so sometimes running the generator when the energy is down is not a joke. But we found ourselves, especially this year, last year was better, I have to say, but especially this year, we are running the generator about 3-4 days a week. What that is doing is that, you know, we buy in diesel to power the generator. And so it's just our diesel cost just rising and rising, and our generator and maintenance costs, because when you power the whole factory, the generator sometimes even struggles to cope. And so for us, the meaning is that can you look into other, you know, renewable energy sources? But we keep looking because the cost is huge for us, because the whole factory producing 40 tons a day is running as a fridge. So there are options we are looking at.
To the education sector, where pre-tertiary teacher unions in the central region have threatened to demonstrate against government over government's refusal to accede to their demands. The teacher unions have been negotiating for the payment of deprived area allowance, book, online and teaching support allowance, extra assessment allowance, upward adjustment of the continuous professional development allowance. Now, Central Regional Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, Abdullahi Baba Yusuf, says the teachers are fed up.
Since the negotiation for our collective agreement in 2009 and after 2020 collective agreement, the unions have known no peace, owing to the government's continued failure to implement the allowances agreed on, as well as fulfill promises given. The allowances we have been battling over the past 15 years and counting as 17. However, due to several considerations, we have reduced them to 4. These are: 1, the deprived area allowance; 2, extra assessment allowance; 3, book data online teaching support allowance; and 4, upward adjustment of the CPD allowance. Despite this gesture of good faith from the unions, the government is still adamant and has demonstrated bad faith. This has often culminated in high-level despondency and dissatisfaction of leadership. We have had to hang on this thin line with our members complaining bitterly. These complaints have been worse, especially as our members are reeling under the utter hardship imposed on us all by the current economic conditions in the country. We wish to emphasize that the last 24 months have been the most tortuous for the Ghanaian teacher. If the government fails to respond positively, we, the grassroots, members of the unions at the grassroots, will mobilize ourselves and demonstrate our national leadership to ensure that the right things are done, the teachers' conditions are met as demanded by the teachers. It is not about the national leadership, it is about the teachers at the grassroots. And therefore, if no action is taken after the press conferences, our intention is to mobilize our members at the grassroots to demonstrate nationwide or in this region against leadership and government, so that until government respond to our demands on the table. That is why we said that nobody should take the demands on the table for granted, and we should not take the actions we are taking now for a joke. If you joke with it, you are joking with yourself, because the teachers are not prepared now to back down on these demands. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.
Solidarity forever. In other news, coordinator for See Something, Say Something, Akosua Dankwa and Team Secretary, has stated that security is a shared responsibility, urging citizens in the country to be concerned about happenings around them to safeguard the peace the country is enjoying. Speaking at an engagement in Wa with leaders of religious and sectional heads, she said the insecurity in neighboring countries posed a security threat to Ghana and should not be allowed to spill into the country. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
The Upper West region is the 10th out of 16 regions in the country to have been told by National Security Project officers to sensitize the populace on the See Something, Say Something project. Owing to the advent of terrorists, extremists, and jihadist groups in the sub-region, which has destabilized and threatened the peace and security of the countries, resulted in the launch of the See Something, Say Something campaign in Ghana. The campaign, which was launched by the National Security, is to encourage citizens to report suspicious activities or potential threat to national security. It is also to promote community-led intelligence gathering and encourage citizens to play an active role in maintaining national security. At a meeting with leaders of religious and sectional heads that included representatives from Muslims and Christians in the one municipality, coordinator See Something, Say Something, Akosua Dankwa and Team Secretary stated that security is a shared responsibility and has no political color, urging the people to be more vigilant to safeguard the peace of the country.
I must say that this campaign is apolitical. It has no political colors, it has no tribal leanings, it has no religious leanings. This is national in nature. We have only one Ghana, and therefore we all have to come together as one people and protect our security, or ensure that our security is not compromised. If we don't do that as a people and allow other people, based on their selfish interests, allow our security to be compromised, how can we go about our normal duty to go elsewhere? Economically, they are suffering. When it comes socially, education-wise, everything has come to a standstill. We can't afford to go down that line.
2 members of the team, Costa Ofe and Anwar Jacob, fell through insight on the project and what they expect from the citizenry.
We should be able to give details. Okay, that person who came to kidnap, that person who came to kill, how does it look like? Most of the time, when they commit these crimes, they abscond or they run away. So we should be able to help gather some specific features of that person to help the authorities, because you were the key witness. If you who saw the thing cannot give a description, how can the police or authorities, get wind of that person?
Some of us here are also landlords, or we stay in compound houses. Please take notice of those you stay with. The law is very clear. If you give your house to somebody that you don't know, and the person uses your facility to commit crimes, that your facility, that your house will become a subject of investigation.
One mayor, Isako Tayar Moment, commended the leadership of the various religious groups in the region for the camaraderie that existed between them, which has contributed to relative peace the region is enjoying.
That we should continue to tolerate one another, close our ranks, and then make sure that there are no cracks within us, said that outsiders will take advantage of that and come in to do something that we ourselves or you yourself have not endorsed. So once we close our ranks and tolerate one another and then leave ourselves within the tenets of the faith that we are practicing, I'm sure nobody will get the advantage to come in.
The National Security Project officers earlier visited the overlord of the Wara traditional area, now for City people the 4th and the Tindambes for similar engagements. Reporting for Joy News, Rafik Salam.
Moving on, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration says it has revived its long-term program of promoting made-in-Ghana goods and services. After coming to a temporary halt over the past 3 years, the third edition of the Made-in-Ghana Bazaar promises to create a platform to build strong relationships between Ghana's local industries and the well-established markets of our foreign partners abroad through the use of Ghana's diplomatic missions and network. Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Shirley Ayoko-Butchie, at the media launch of the Bazaar re-echoed the need to patronize made-in-Ghana goods and services while improving on the production, processing, packaging and distribution chain.
Thankfully, the third edition of the Made-in-Ghana Bazaar is coming off at the Accra International Conference Center from the 23rd to 25th of May under the theme, Promoting Made-in-Ghana Goods and Services for Economic Prosperity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish to emphasize that the overarching objective of the Bazaar is to use the network of our diplomatic missions abroad and diplomatic missions accredited to the Republic of Ghana to facilitate the penetration of Ghanaian products and services into foreign markets. The Bazaar also creates a needed platform to build strong relationships between Ghana's local industries and the well-established markets of our foreign partners abroad. It also aims to re-echo the need to patronize made-in-Ghana goods and services while improving on the production, processing, packaging, and distribution chain. The third edition of the Bazaar would provide exhibitors with an opportunity to showcase a wide range of innovative products and services, as well as to establish contacts with strategic partners, exchange experiences, explore business opportunities, and to consolidate relationships with new and existing customers. The timing of this event is auspicious because of the dynamics of today's international system. This has prompted the need for governments to focus more on economic diplomacy by forging partnerships and strengthening economic ties to boost their.
For final story, with less than a month to the commencement of this year's Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, Chairman of Ghana's Hajj Board, Ben Abdallah Banda, has indicated that all necessary arrangements for the successful airlifting of pilgrims to and from Saudi Arabia has been made to the Hajj Board. He made this known in an interview with my colleague Anas Sabit, who has more in the following report.
Each year, millions of Muslim men, women and children converge in Mecca to perform what is known as the Hajj pilgrimage, a transformative religious experience particularly for those embarking on the pilgrimage for the first time. With the religion of Islam built on some 5 pillars, which includes the Shahada, the Salah, the Zakat, fasting in the month of Ramadan and the Hajj pilgrimage, Muslims see this journey as one of the most important exercises in the Islamic faith. Sheikh Mansour Anas, an imam at the Aswad Central Mosque in Tichiman, tells us more.
When we said Hajj, it is a journey of a faith. Hajj is the pilgrimage that one embark on it once in his lifetime, from wherever a person is to Mecca, it's at the heart of Saudi Arabia, to go and then perform that at a place called Kaaba, or around a place called Kaaba. That is Hajj. And it is very, very important when it comes to Islam, because Hajj is one of the pillars of Islam.
Sheikh Mansour Anas, who was part of the Ulama committee who observed the 2023 Hajj pilgrimage, said despite the relevance of this journey, it is only made compulsory upon those who are financially capable.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clean, and He does not accept anything but the clean one. And Hajj, as we said, it is not compulsory upon every Muslim. It's only compulsory on one who is able. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. That Allah has made it compulsory for the one who is able. So if you don't have the means, it is not compulsory on you. So you don't have to force yourself to borrow or cheat or otherwise. Don't do anything. Just make sure that you have the means. You can embark on it and come and continue your business.
Chairman of Ghana's Hajj Board, who doubles as the presidential coordinator for the Zongo Development Fund, Ben Abdallah Banda, says with regards to arrangements made by the board both locally and in Saudi Arabia, the board has put in place mechanisms to make this year's Hajj one of the best in recent years.
I would say in a nutshell that so far the preparations have been good. We are on course. Everything is under control. We have finished with our airline because we've signed the contract with them. We've signed our contract with accommodation in Makkah and Medina. We've done with our transport company. We've also done with the Mina. We secured Mina. We've also secured Arafah. So these are the key components that constitute the whole spectrum of the Hajj activities.
However, emphasized that the establishment of the Hajj Board is to ensure that pilgrims are provided with the best of treatments throughout their journey to and from Mecca. Anas Sabit, Joy News, Accra.
That's how we're wrapping up for the AM News on the AM Show. Stay with us for the news review coming up next. Welcome back on the AM Show. It's time now for us to get into the newspapers. There's a lot of things happening in the country. Let's review what's been captured in the newspapers. But of course, Benjamin Akako is in the studio with me. Good morning, Benjamin. How are you doing?
I'm okay. It's just that sometimes when you listen to the antics of our director, you would feel like sending him a knock through the television. But we'll leave him. He thinks he's the only one who can talk in our ears and that we can't talk on air and deal with it.
Yeah, talking to you, Gomez.
One of these days, we'll do him a little, something small. I can't use that word. You would do him something small on air. Then he'll realize what time it is. But how was your night? Did you have light?
I did. I had light.
Oh. Okay.
Actually, I haven't had the power outage. I haven't experienced it in a bit.
Okay.
So whatever they're doing, it's working for me.
Monday I was affected, but not yesterday, not today. I'm fine.
Okay.
But you know, I told you a friend in the States, right? That it was quite a surprise because I had a WhatsApp meeting with this person. The person was in a meeting at around 8, so we shifted to 9, and I told the person that will not happen. Just about a week and a half ago. It won't happen because my power is out. And do you know what the person did? Shockingly, because I wasn't expecting it. Sent me an email, sent me 2 power banks.
Oh.
And there was someone coming to Ghana. So the person, some big, fat power banks, 30,000 mega amperes, another one, 36,880.
Is it because
it was
2? So one for me, one
someone
for
in the back room is asking for one. Unfortunately, the other one has been given out because we are in doom.
Now I know you don't love me. So before we get into the newspapers, I know you want to tell us about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic.
Would you like to do it today?
No, your watch looks really good.
Oh, you like the watch?
Yeah, I like the color.
Oh, okay. I'll send you the bill. I'll bring you the bill. Anyway, let's now talk about Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They make it possible every weekday for us to bring you this segment. And as always, they're offering you, if you're a man, prostate screening for free. I've had a lot of people, since I started Prostate Watch, a lot of people reaching out to me, my prostate this, my prostate that. Masa, my friend, grow. When your prostate, it's just this small walnut-sized, organ in your body. But if it starts messing you up, it could be problematic. Just get yourself checked out, like a car. Take it to servicing. Go for maintenance, right? Get a checkup. If you're a woman, fertility-related issues. I hear there's a certain percentage of women that will develop fibroids that develop to a point where you may need surgical resolution. For some others, everybody, practically every woman I hear has a bit of something going on. It just may not develop to the point where you need surgery. But why wait? Get yourself checked. Know your fertility status. The good thing, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic is offering you screening in both these areas for free. Here's where you can reach them. At Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, then that's in Accra. Then Kumasi Kronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takra De Anaji Estate. There's Tema Community 22. There's Techiman Hanswa and there's Siama Nzema. You can also reach them on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. I need backup on this. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic.
The end to chronic disease.
The end to chronic disease. And it's just the start of our conversation with Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Yes. He's a political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, Yamawachi.
Yaura, good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
You guys look great.
Thank you. We try, forgotten country.
And I like your setup. Beautiful.
Thank you, Doc. Would you like to usher Doc into the conversation?
Doc, as usual, you have about a minute to react to any of the topical issues in the country right now, and then we'll get into the newspapers.
Straight away, thanks for the opportunity. I'll jump to the limited registration. When we talk about free and fair election, there are indices to measure that. And one of it is what? Voter registration. How you are able to register voters, get their names on the list, the roll of voters, so that on the day of election, if they want, they can express themselves or exercise their franchise. It is critical because anything that affects obviously undermines the whole electoral process and render the election useless. It is on the basis of this that people like us, from where we sit, we will always want to urge the election management body, that is the Electoral Commission, to be up and doing. The stories we have heard about the first time voters, people who are about to vote for the first time, is not good enough. I think they can do better. The registration has not ended, so the days ahead, I expect them to put their house in order and make sure that all the problems they are talking about power outages, ineffective machines, and the rest of them. They will be able to fix them and get people. I listening to Joy from your program, and then you see how excited young people are. They're getting the opportunity to vote for the first time and all that. Please, they should not cut short their dreams and all that, and make sure that the machines work and that those who are qualified get the opportunity to register and express themselves on the day of election. That is all there is to it if you want to ensure that there's a meaningful democracy.
Right.
And if I may just chip in on that point, like Doc mentioned, power outages, ineffective machines and all of that. But two other things that are very worrying. One, locations advertised by the EC that were non-existent. So you can go and register here, but you go there and there's nothing happening. That's one. Another one, a worry. And I saw on some platforms people talking about them. So I want to put it to the EC so that you avert, because the more above the board, the more honest you appear, the better it is for the optics of the elections, ahead of the elections. There were places up north where there was a total blackout. There was no registration process going on. There were places in other regions as well, and then people were starting to draw linkages. In the Ashanti region there, I don't think there are such problems. In other words, someone's stronghold, there are no issues. In another person, you see, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that is true. But EC, get things right so that people can't draw such linkages, because that is how the trouble starts. So let's get our act together. That's my simple point that I want to make.
Let's get into the newspaper, starting with the Ghanaian Times newspaper. On the front page, it says, help us deal with land guards, Sun winners. Blue Skies management appeals to the president. Goma Fete chief condemns killing of soldier at Kaswa. Beg pardon. New force leader launches 100 million Ghana cedi crowdfunding to support electioneering. Stop premium undercutting to sustain industry. That is Commissioner of Insurance. And limited voters registration commencement experiences some hiccups. Let's start with a story that says stop premium undercutting to sustain industry. And it reads it on page 8 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The acting commissioner of insurance, Mr. Michael Kiando, has advised players in the insurance industry to desist from premium undercutting to help sustain the insurance industry. Premium undercutting is defined as the practice where an insurance company offers clients unrealistically low premiums in order to gain a competitive advantage. So according to him, premium undercutting remained a challenge to the insurance industry and denied it the necessary funds to develop. I'll do 3 more stories and then from the Ghanaian Times newspaper, and then we have the chance to react to all of them at once. New force leader, Cheddar, launches 100 million crowdfunding to support electioneering. So the leader of the new force, Nana Kwame Bediako, has launched a crowdfunding scheme to raise 100 million Ghana cedis for his 2024 presidential campaign. He said the scheme was targeted at those who believe in his presidential ambition, adding that such persons could donate through www.nkb.com or by dialing *887*2024# on all telecommunication networks to support his ambition of becoming the next Ghana's president. I'll put a pin in that. Help us deal with land guards and Sun winners. Blue Skies management appeals to president. So, management of Blue Skies Products, Ghana Limited, producers of Blue Skies fruit juice, have appealed to the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, to help them deal with activities of land guards and illegal Sun winners in the operational areas. According to the company, these illegal activities in the area were affecting the cultivation of pineapple, which served as the main raw material for the operations. And they were speaking during the interaction with the president as part of his official visit to the company at Dobro in Nsawam yesterday. And the final thing I'll do in the Ghanaian Times newspaper before we get to some reactions is the limited voter registration. We've spoken a bit about that. So the takeoff of the nationwide limited voter registration exercise by the Electoral Commission yesterday was largely peaceful, about some incidents which nearly marred the process at some centers on the first day. And we've seen most of the issues. I just want to add that yesterday I was at Ayawaso Central, and some guy who said...
Soweto, right?
No.
Oh, wait, when you went... because Central is this way.
Ayawaso Central, the former EC office. After Soweto, we came back to...
You came back to...
Central,
right.
Where there was some sort of altercation. In fact, what am I talking about? It was a fight. And there was this national security officer fighting one of the monitoring agents from the NDC. And according to eyewitness reports, the security man had been clandestinely sending people in to register. People who didn't look like they were minors or just turned 18s, if we can call them that. And so a media person was filming the process, and he got upset that he was being filmed, and it got into a whole, fight. People had to come in to separate them. First day, and we're already witnessing this, and parties are saying that they are not busing people, and there's no law against busing, but trying to infiltrate the system with people who are not even minors or who are not qualified to be registering. What do you stand to gain?
So there are some quick points to make before Doc comes in on that point. One has to do with, and I think yesterday there was some talk, or 2 days ago, about these purported national security operatives. You remember Ayawaso West Wugon? Some of those masquerading. I mean, some of these people are party people. Let's put it that way.
Oh, they are party people.
Party people. Either they are indeed party people who've been roped into the service, or they are not even national security. And that's a problem. Because nowadays someone comes, oh, I'm national security, and the person actually doesn't, maybe picks you up, and before you know it, and that is why I will never, national security. What shows you are national security? It is watering down our security institutions. And two, I don't know what the benefit, well, there could be a benefit, because you can't double register. When I had Dr. Srebo Kweku here yesterday, you can't register twice. If you do already, there will be mechanisms to root you out. You get that. Yeah. So I don't know whether these people are even in the know. Maybe they are thinking, I have registered somewhere, but I can come and register here and vote. You'll get caught, you'll get penalized, you may suffer the penalty for that. So I don't know what the basis is, but of course, the advantage could be that maybe you know that X person is from this party, or will vote for this party, and you are getting them registered ahead of other people you don't know of. That could be problematic. But you see, we are sitting on a time bomb. If we keep playing these games, well,
this guy is swallow. Well, Otokunor Asante, what are your thoughts on these 4 stories before we get into other cases?
I will start with the land guard issue. It's very unfortunate. I think this country has come out with a law to regulate lives in this area. Why are we having land guards in this country? It tells you simply put that there is weak enforcement. State capacity is weak in this regard. Because why do you have a law? You saw the speed with which the president rushed to parliament to throw the bill there for it to be considered and pass into law, and he quickly signed it. What is happening when we have a law to deal with it? And now we are seeing activities of land guards, coming up strongly. There's something wrong with our enforcement, of the law. We need to be able to do it well so that we save all ourselves. Because if we allow these things to fester, I'm afraid a time will come, nobody can venture into any forest to do any business. And the time you realize they've taken over this beautiful state of ours. So all of us, it is part of our duty that when we see something, we say something. We report them. And when we do, the authorities should act and act swiftly. That is all I can say. Let me move on to the issue of Shada trying to raise funds for his campaign. It's normal, legitimate. But what we want to see is that the campaign must be campaign driven by issues. We want issues. Promises, I will do this, I will do that. Yes, this election, we want to take the conversation to a level higher than previously done. What I want to know is that if you promise us that you will build a cathedral, for instance, I want to see where you generated the money. Where would the money come from? How often are we going to get? So that at the end of the day, you don't come back and tell us that, yeah, I did not know that much, and that is why we are where we are. No, give us the mathematics of it. How is it going to be implemented? And if we see that it is not viable through our questions, we'll be able to know that and will not give you any mandate. I think I will urge all, civil society groups and all the people who matter in these areas by posing the right questions to them for people who don't have the capacity to be able to do this, so that we can do that on their behalf. And that will inform their choices in a more positive manner. Democracy grows well when the people have information that is reliable, and that based on that they can make a decision. I will touch on the issue of insurance premium undercutting. It is unfortunate that we still have this practice going on, to the extent that now the commission is out there crying about it and all that. There are things when we do, we think that you have individual benefits, but the total effect on society is what we must address our minds to. You undertake this exercise and people get involved in accident, and you need to give them insurance, and you are not able to do. You are only creating a problem by destroying the insurance companies and creating problems for the state to bear and all that. This is unnecessary. Let us make sure that we stay within the rules of the game, and that's all. If you want more money and it is out of reach, you do what is needful to be able to get it. But using illegal means, I'm afraid there is a day that accountability will be there, or the full the law will catch up with you. And what do you say? That's where the problem will come. The last one, I think I have dealt with it.
Yes.
All the issues. Okay.
So posterity will judge us all. Now, the New Finder newspaper at the front page says network failure galore, chronicling some of the issues that came out from yesterday at the first-time voters' experiences. Baumia's policies good for president, next generations, that is according to Ahafo chiefs. President assures blue skies of government support. Too busted for attempting to smuggle 130 bags of cocoa beans to Ghana. Get a paper for yourself and read some of these stories. We've touched on most of them. In the Ghanaian publisher, NPP loyal ladies prefer female as running mate. Ahafo chiefs endorse Baumia's agenda. I cannot hand over to Mahama, says Akufo-Addo. And the role of succession planning in promotion, brand resilience, sustainable growth, all on the front page of the Daily Publisher. I'll just do this one story about I cannot hand over. It was in a news bulletin.
I wonder why the president keeps saying that.
In fact,
is it the people who will determine that, or is it the president who will determine?
Is that he took power from Mahama, and Mahama is not pleased with anything that he has done, for which reason we should not vote for him. Jesus,
you know, I find it very problematic that the president keeps saying that. Not because I feel anything should happen, but how can you be saying, he's always saying the election must be free and fair, we must retain peace, and yet you keep saying, who determines that? Mr. President, you have one vote. So are you speaking for the generality of the people, or are you speaking for yourself, or what? I don't get it. Doc, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I think I'm so surprised. Power springs from the sovereign will of the people. It doesn't come from anybody. And the president, being a lawyer, his understanding of this issue, he has more superior understanding than my good self. We don't want him to go on that route, because it doesn't lie in his mouth to make that statement. The good people of this country would decide who will succeed him. It's not he. So what his duty now is to make sure that he fixes the economy, the doomsday economy. He must address it. All right. We want to see, a conversation between the doomsday economy and the 24-hour economy. That's what Ghanaians are looking forward to. The issues must come, discuss them, but not some of these comments, which it doesn't help anybody, because he doesn't have the power. The good people of this country, 7 December, they will decide who will be their leader when we enter 2025. It is not Mr. President to do. I'm sorry, Mr. President, that is not your role.
Benjamin, what papers do you have? What do they say?
The Daily Graphic, EVAT in limbo, retail outlets suck economy dry. Nation loses billions in revenue. There's also be bold to publish findings. Attorney General tells African investigative bodies. I'm sorry, I'm laughing, especially on the back of what is happening between the OSP, Yoko, and the AG. Attorney General tells African investigative bodies, be bold to publish findings. System failure delays voter registration. On the back page, Greater Accra RegSec declares Ramsar sites security zones. So let's quickly get into the stories. The Daily Graphic has uncovered that many retail outlets in the country are not complying with the Ghana Revenue Authority's directive and the law on the electronic value-added tax invoicing system more than 18 months after the initiative took off. While the Value-Added Tax Amendment Number 2, Act 2022, that is Act 870, enjoins eligible companies, thousands of them, to comply with the EVAT, almost all the companies listed to integrate their billing and receipting system to a GRA designated system are refusing to do so, thereby denying the states of millions of Ghana cedis monthly, which translates into billions of cedis a year. Now, about a week-long mystery shopping conducted by the Daily Graphic revealed widespread non-compliance as an overwhelming number of companies defied the order to issue receipts only electronically through an interface with the GRA system. But the GRA introduced the modified EVAT system through the Taxation Use of Fiscal Electronic Device Act 2018, that is Act 966, in October 2022 to improve revenue received from VAT. I have two thoughts on my mind. One, why are the businesses avoiding doing this? I'm not saying it is justified, but when you have a tax handle and businesses, this means thousands of them, almost all of them are avoiding it. The question is why? And the electronic system of GRA, is it, working perfectly? Is it a picture-perfect system? Because those are the things. If taxes, no one across the world likes to pay taxes. But in other jurisdictions, it's because if you try the little pim, you'll be caught, right? If you create room for people to be frustrated when they are trying to pay tax, that could be a disincentive. So how effective is this electronic system? Because I remember I've been somewhere before. They were trying to do something like that. It wasn't working, so they had to do a manual thing for me. That's why I'm asking, how effective is that electronic system? And two, have we dug into why they are avoiding this? Doc, any thoughts?
Yes, I think you have said it perfectly, because nobody is interested in paying tax. But when systems are put and they are effective system, you can dodge. You can dodge that. And let us remember that it is out of taxation that we are able to run the affairs of the state, the extractive capacity of the state. The state must be in a position to put systems in place to generate enough revenue to run its affairs. So it is the duty of GRA to be able to do this so that we can get the minimum or the maximum revenue that we need to run our affairs. We need that at all times because it is so important. We don't need to be relying on foreigners to support our country all the time. If there is the need for us to build our own states from our own resources, the time is now. We can't wait any longer.
Let's get into other stories. Be bold to publish findings, Attorney General tells African investigative bodies. And Godfrey Abuadame has urged investigative bodies in Africa to be bold to disclose to the public the full results of investigations into allegations of corruption against members of government, which turn out to be untrue. He said it would augur well for the fight if corruption allegations that turned out to be refuted or unsubstantiated were fully put out by investigative bodies. Quoting him, he says, "This is one sure way to boost the confidence of the public in their government, reduce the suspicions, distrust, and cynicism with which the public views office holders, and boost the corruption perception index of our respective countries." Godfrey, you could start from Ghana, right? I mean, especially now with the OSP and everything, and especially when you listen to anti-graft campaigners, and of course you read the fine print of what was submitted, what was not submitted. Iyoko was supposed to rely on the prima facie evidence given by the OSP to go ahead and conduct their own investigations, which did not happen, even per their statement. And the AG also said there was no basis. We heard Mamiya Tiwa also come and say this and that. So in the end, these things you are talking about, why don't you start from home? Charity begins where? At home. How about the SML report? You are talking about being above the board report. Your guidance. What is your guidance, Mr. Godfrey Abuadame, to your government? What is your guidance to government on that report?
Benjamin.
So as for talk, it's cheap. We can all talk. We can all talk. You wanted to chip in?
I mean, I don't think we are...
I don't think
we are their target audience, I think back home, they don't care what they say, they don't care the image or brand that they are projecting, but on the continent, in the world, they want to look like they're actually doing something that's meaningful and relevant. So you make statements like this, saying people should be bold and publish things, but back home you're not practicing what you preach. So are we your target audience? Are you talking to us? Are you Benjamin? Dr. Kwame Asante?
Yeah, I think it's an empty talk. I mean, it's an empty talk because you need to preach. You don't need to preach virtues and practice vice. What are you telling people out there? And my lady, you are right on the spot. In that, are we your audience? We have told you what to do. You even know how to do and do it better. Is that the case? I mean, when people give you all the report, do you have the courage, the political will to deal with that subject matter of corruption? It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And when Transparency International, they release their figures, then there's, wailing and gnashing of teeth. Why are you crying? I mean, they will continue to do their work. And I have realized that in this country, we don't want to fight corruption. Simply SITA. Nothing more, nothing less. Because if we really are interested in fighting it, there are so many ways in making sure that we nip this phenomenon in the bud. But we are not ready. We'll just come throw dust into the eyes of the public and then deceive people into believing that, we'll be able to do the work. We are not ready to do it. Let's forget about it. But one thing I want us to avert our minds to, that in politics, what goes round comes round. And it's always reward and punishment system. Today, you don't want to deal with the problem of corruption. The next day, you will run and make sure that you deal with corruption head on. So they must be guided by this, that in politics, it is associated with reward and punishment.
Doc, I'm going to run very quickly in the next minute or so, just give you some headlines and thoughts. But in the political section, page 17 of the Daily Graphic newspaper, there is a quote there by Harry F. Banks who says, "An informed people is one of the best guarantees of a continuing democracy." An informed people is one of the best guarantees of a continuing democracy. How informed are you as you prepare for election 2024? Or is it they said, she said, he said, or my party says? Do you know what's going on? That's that. The Daily Guide newspaper, it says you have good policies, Ahafo chiefs to Bawumia. Then there is voter registration takes off after initial hitches. And this one, the banner headline, Mahama will run down Ghana. That's according to Nanado. Let me just say this, though respectfully. Comparatively, if we compare Ghana under Mahama and Ghana now, I could also say, Mr. President, that you have run down the country. How about that? Dr. Asante, your thoughts?
You are spot on. You are spot on. Mr. President, this government, we want to tell you in your face right now that you have run down the affairs of this state. I mean, so you don't go there, because when we go into details, you know it, all right? It will expose you. So allow the people to decide the direction they want to go. This type of propaganda talk, this type of, throwing out something, it doesn't help anything. It doesn't help anybody too. Ghanaians are well aware of what is happening. Look at what Dumso and government and the officials are pretending as if it doesn't exist. Who are you deceiving? Look at how difficult the economy has become. Life is so difficult now to bear, right? Look at what everything, from economy to social issues to political issues and the rest of them. Mr. President, you need to up your game and fix it. You were telling Mahama that fix the economy, fix the Dumso, and fix unemployment. That is what we want. But I'm surprised that the party is sitting down and they are not addressing this issue. As for the Mr. President, January 7, 2025, he is not on the seat. So I expect that those who inherit should be able to make sure that all these things are not said and we get the best so that they can leverage on that during the election. Otherwise, I don't know the kind of answers that they have for us. The same questions that they put to Mahama, we are going to push it back to the examiner to see whether the question that he said is worth examining or worth answering.
Doc, we'll draw the curtains here, but let me just add the Daily Searchlight depreciation. Did Bawumia lie to Africa Watch? And the Accra Times, Sayo, pay Zoom lion. Workers cry out as they appeal to Nana Akufo-Addo. We're so grateful that you took the time to join us, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Always making our Wednesdays, as the Germans will say, wunderbar. Wonderful. God bless you, sir.
Most grateful. I wish you a good day.
All right. Before we go, this one came through from one of our team members. It's from Asafweje Procurement Department, Ghana Ports and Harbors Authority, HQ in Tema. And he says, happy birthday to my confidant and greatest treasure, a woman who makes even mundane chores feel like an adventure, Mrs. Linda Asafweje. Happy birthday to you from your husband. What glowing praise coming from your husband. So happy birthday to you, Mrs. Linda Asafweje. Any final words before we go? Posterity will judge us all, Ben. I'm saying that to the government. But didn't you, Gabi Asari-Otredako once said that we would miss President Akufo-Addo, that we would remember him and miss him? He says we'll miss him. Well, like I said, and I will say his opinion. Posterity, time, the future. We will get there and we will see. Time always tells the story. Yes. Time always tells the story. So let's just keep going. They should keep doing what they're doing. Well, thank you all for joining us for this conversation. Right before we veer into sports, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic helping us bring you this segment, as they always do. They're offering you prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. You can check them out at any of their branches across Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex, the Stakrade Anaji State Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and the Siaman Zama. You can also reach them via phone on, are you ready? 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. The end to chronic disease. I like saying the last. My partner in this LP. All right, sports is up next. Do stay.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to AM Sports. Here with me, Muftahu Nabila Abdullah. Borussia Dortmund, they have reached the final of the UEFA Champions League for the first time in 11 years. They secured a ticket to the grand finale after defeating PSG 2-0 on aggregate. First final for Borussia Dortmund in about 11 years. The last time they were in the final, they came up against Bayern Munich in 2013. This year, Bayern Munich is also in the semi-final. They come up against Real Madrid. And yesterday, the Joy Sports team, we were inside Kita's lounge at Mataiko. And tonight, we are going to be at the Heritage Craft Brewery for the second leg of the UEFA Champions League semi-final tie between Real Madrid, record winners of this competition, and Bayern Munich, winners of the tournament, the competition in 2013 when they came up against Borussia Dortmund in the final. Will it be an all-German final again, just as we witnessed 11 years ago? Just maybe not. So if you want to witness that, join us at East Legon inside Heritage Craft Brewery as Joy Sports brings you commentary of the UEFA Champions League second leg semi-final matches. Let's talk some athletics now. And Ghana secured qualification to the Paris Olympic Games after running a season best of 38.29 seconds on day 2 of the Bahamas relays. My colleague Fentio Tahiro Fentio caught up with the team and had this special conversation with them.
Once again, congratulations on making it to back-to-back Olympic Games for Team Ghana and the 4x1 relay. Let's just have a brief chat through the race. After the events of yesterday, I'm interested, Joe, from your point of view, what was the conversation like between the guys after the events of Saturday?
On Saturday, I mean, it was like an unfortunate situation.
and we know stuff like that do happen in relays. So we just had to like mentally stay strong and accept the fact that that happened, and we had to come into the competition the next day to correct our wrongs and then make sure we get that qualification to Paris. Yeah.
And obviously it happened between Isaac and Isaac. So I'm interested in Isaac, especially being relatively new to the team.
Yeah.
All of this must have been very new to him. What was the conversation you had with him in trying to encourage him and to keep his mind at the right place?
We are happy that at least we have some experienced members on the team. Myself, Ben, and Sean, we've been on the relay for quite some time. So we had to just, try to talk to them to let them know that what happened it's something that could happen in any relay. And we had a good team, and we just had to believe in ourselves and forget about what happened on Saturday. So we just it was more of a mental battle, and within a few hours we were over it and ready for the next day. Yeah.
And for you as well, I'm sure that all of you actually read what happens on social media, what people put out there. But obviously, having been in the scene for so long, you know how to react to that. Again, that conversation between the young guys and yourself, what was it like? Because they may not be used to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, before we got here, I'm in the same school with Isaac, so I told him, you have to have a bulletproof on if you want to be on this team, because a lot of people will come for you as soon as they get to know of your name. So just to have that mental toughness and everything, and unfortunate for us, we dropped the baton. There was no time to blame whoever that did it or anything. We just spoke to ourselves, let's go into the next round, let's qualify, and then let's go work on our mistakes. So that was just the conversation. He understood everything. I think he's mentally tough, and then he was able to do it yesterday.
Also, could you, for those who might not understand, could you explain exactly what happened? Sometimes you don't see the full picture even on television replay. What exactly happened?
I think we ourselves don't even really know what happened. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just weird. It was just a weird situation, but we got over it, and then we were able to qualify the next day.
Isaac, what was your mentality after the incident, building up to yesterday? Because we'll talk about yesterday briefly, but what was the mindset after the events of Saturday?
Yeah, I thank God the Wi-Fi here is not working. Yeah, so as we came, I put my phone down, then I was able to get a good night's sleep. To be honest, I was able to get a good night's sleep. I didn't get a chance to go online to surf online, so I think that really didn't bother me, because I believe in my team, and I know what happened. I can't imagine what happened. I thought we are almost through, but God being so good, he has the plan for us. He said Sunday for us, so whatever man will say, no one is God. Yeah.
That crowd is very well. Let's talk to the Algasco man. Obviously, after day one, things didn't go well, so now day two. And you had to set the team up, start the team up. And you did it brilliantly, very good split. What was it like every time you get into that block? What is going through your mind when you get into that block, thinking those few seconds before the gun goes off?
What goes through my mind is I just have to make sure that I execute the race and run a good race. Even though before the race, we have professionals in our mix. Someone like Jupo always talk to me about how to start a good race and even how to hold the baton on the blocks. That's what goes through my mind. Yeah.
So even in the blocks, there's a way to hold the baton.
Yeah, at first I don't know how to hold it. I don't know how to hold this thing.
I'll hold the baton and hold the track.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I've never seen. I don't think in all my years of covering track, I've never seen somebody throw away the baton from the block. But it can happen under pressure. Yeah, it can happen under pressure. Obviously, you started well, handed over to Isaac. Isaac, I'm going to come back to you. That back straight again, 9.13 was your split on that back straight. The back straight is the longest. It's about 120 meters. talk me through it. Once you took that baton, what was your race strategy like in executing that back straight?
Yeah, unfortunately, like what we did on practice, I couldn't really execute, like due to let's say the push, because you know me running the
back straight. What is he talking about? Oh, they come back straight.
Yeah, they come like back straight.
Back stretch. Back straight to back stretch.
Yeah, so I forgot to say back stretch.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. So you were saying that you didn't execute the race the way you wanted.
No, like not like I didn't execute like the way I wanted, but I was able to like push, but not what I was doing way in practice. Okay. But I was able to like catch up because during the first round I was able to run like 9:07. Yeah. So that split was really good, and coming in I was having that confidence that I can really go down. But you know, we all being careful due to what happened like on the first heat. Yeah.
As on that curve, the curve is very, very complicated to execute, and you are so used to the back straight. For all the years you've run in this relay team, I think this is probably the first time I've seen you on the curve. What was the decision behind that in the first place when your coach told you, look, we're putting you on the curve?
Yeah, I think it's more of trying to put Isaac on where he's going to be comfortable and where we can make good use of him, and having to, you know, be more. I've been comfortable running the 200 as well, so being able to be put on the third leg was okay for me. It was not anything I could say no to. Of course, it's a team sport, and I should be ready to run any leg when I'm asked to do so. So I took it as an opportunity for me and for me to help the team to be able to qualify for the Olympics. So it was not anything. How do I say it?
New.
Anything new? Yeah. That new to me, but I was able to do my best, and that's what I'm happy about.
And brother, listen, 9:35 on that split was probably, in my opinion, where the race was won. The Nigerian that was following you did 9:57. The gap was so huge, and when you grab the baton on the bend and you see someone in the lead, what's that thinking like?
It's just all about, you know, trying to run as fast as you can, being in the lead, and of course we are working against the clock, so in the back of our heads we want to run a good, really fast time. We're trying to run under 38, and of course I'm handing the baton to Joe, so of course I need to hurry up and then give it to him and then shoot the arrow.
So somebody wanted to know whether it is stone catapult or an arrow, because he said in Ghana we don't have. He said in Ghana we don't have arrow. We have stone catapult. So which one were you shooting?
It's an arrow.
It's an arrow.
And sure, Joe, once you got that baton, I dare argue that there are very few people in world track events right now that could run you down in a home straight. Very few, and even for those it's arguable. It depends on how much gap you have. Once you got that from Azar, did you know at that point it was game over? At the point you received it?
Yeah. I knew it was game over because since we started running the relays, since 2019, and as the years came by, it's always been our goal to try to like get the baton in the lead on the final leg. So when Azar passed to me and I realized that about 10 meters I was already in the lead, I was like, and I know when I saw the video later, I knew he knew it. That's why he did all his antics, you know. So that's even though this was a happy moment for all of us, since yesterday we've been laughing at that particular situation. It was. That's
what every Ghanaian.
It was an unbelievable thing, and like yeah, we hope for moments like that where by the time it gets to me, we'll be in the lead. So, you know, doing it was great, and against Nigeria, getting our payback from African games was like exceptional. So yeah.
38-29. You guys have run way faster than that in the past, but this was obviously Olympic qualified. The most important thing was to qualify.
Yeah.
But Isaac mentioned something about maybe the events of Saturday probably affecting and making you a bit too careful with the changeover and what have you. Is that why you think the time might not have been faster? Do you think that played a part a little bit?
I think being careful played a part, and I think the last couple of meters I kind of slowed down a little bit too, because I knew we had already got the qualification mark. So you know, going back to 2021 in Poland, we didn't run a fast time to qualify. We just knew that it's a qualification round, so it's not really about the time you run, it's about making the top two, and we wanted to make it top two, but I wanted to be first over whoever it was. So yeah, that was it.
My other question is, what is the potential of doing a sub 38? Because this team has broken the national record twice, I believe. What is the potential of that sub 38 happen? Can you see it happening? What must happen before we can get there?
I think we've had teams, so many teams that can go sub 38. It's just a matter of, you know, it's really is a repetitive thing, you know, continuous practice and stuff like that. Even if we get 3 weeks to a month, we should be able to do that. We've had so many teams that could go sub 38. So hopefully everybody is healthy in Olympics. We get like the whole team that we're looking for. These guys are amazing, and we could get 2 additional guys to us. What is coming, we can't really see it.
My last question on the relay, obviously, and this is worth repeating because I need you guys to say that something that's possible. You barely get any kind of preparation ahead of major competition. And the last time that happened maybe was ahead of Budapest, when you got a bit of camp from the French embassy in France. But apart from that, you barely had any preparations whatsoever. This is another Olympic Games. What would be the ideal preparation for you guys?
Honestly, it's more of company motivation, you know. Even though we intrinsically motivate each other, the extrinsic motivation could also be a factor. So camping us somewhere for maybe 3 weeks to a month, we really appreciate that. I feel like I said, relay is something that you got to keep practicing. We're trying to stretch our zone to, you know, be able to to get the baton around efficiently. And that doesn't just come like that. You have to continuously do it before you get to the D-Day. So I think getting, you know, some weeks of practice or even close to a month is something that will be very, very essential to us here.
Perfect. I would have liked to keep this going, but we have to end it. I just want to ask one question. You pass the mic around. What are you most excited about going to Paris? Forget about the racing and everything. What do you want to like? What are you excited about going to France? You don't speak French, do you?
I know a little French, but it's
Say
not.
something in French. Say we are going to Paris in French.
Nous allons à Paris.
Ah, perfect.
I hope it's right.
No, it's correct.
Scarabos.
What did you
Say it again. Say it again. Scapos, Cabaros. Say your.
My French? Hey.
Je m'appelle à Samati.
Je m'appelle Bon and Auto.
Who's it? Yes, am I correct? Say something in French.
In French?
Yes.
Say your age in French.
In French?
J'ai 22 ans.
Qu'est-ce que tu t'appelles?
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Welcome back on the AM show. And we're starting off, of course, talking about some of what happened yesterday in the limited voter registration exercise geared at those who have just turned 18. There were some incidents yesterday, power outages, equipment that wasn't functioning properly, polling stations, or should I say registration centers that were non-existent, among others. But what are the solutions? What are the key lessons from yesterday that we can use segueing into today? We have our guests joining the conversation, starting with Evans Nimako. He is Director of Research and Elections with the New Patriotic Party. We'll have other guests join as time goes on. Mr. Nimako, good morning.
Good morning, my brother. How are you doing?
I'm well, oh. You've not been looking for your brother.
Because you stopped fellowshipping, so we hardly need.
Mr. Nimako, all of a sudden, the connection has gone very low.
Hello?
Yes, better now. I didn't catch what you said.
Yes, I'm saying that because you stopped fellowshipping, so we'll have difficulties meeting that.
I see. Okay. But just starting off, what are your impressions, immediate impressions of the start of the limited voter registration exercise?
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity. I would say that yesterday experience was not one of the best, but the challenges that has to do with network issues will have a little solution from us. For us as a party, we had found out our agents, our national and party executives across to monitor this exercise. Limited registration exercise for 21 days requires of us that for each of the centers that the EC will be doing the registration, we send someone as an agent who will look through the exercise and ensure that the CI that is to be used is complied accordingly. And so we had gone out readiness to go through the exercise, except that these challenges confronted the whole exercise. We are certain that the remaining 20 days, the EC infrastructure will not give us these kind of experiences going forward.
So that means you have some concerns from yesterday. Have you expressed these concerns with the Electoral Commission's officers, hoping that they would do better today? It's not to say, things are so bad, but at least we want to avert all of these so that many more people can get registered. Did you register this displeasure with the EC?
Oh, definitely. The party leaders, the national chairman, general secretary, will definitely come out at the appropriate time. We just went through day one. And as I said, this is a 21-day exercise, which commenced yesterday, ending 27th of this month. Yes, day one's experience was not the best. We expected to have a different experience than we saw yesterday. And at the end of the day, the party definitely, we've never gone through this exercise that the New Patriotic Party will not issue out its concerns at the appropriate time. We will do so.
There's one area, though, that you can't really fault the Electoral Commission. That is with power outages. What do you think can be done about that?
I don't know whether you've gotten full facts of all issues that occurred in the 268 district offices that registration was supposed to take place, plus the 785 difficult to reach areas. Whether the issue was power outages or the EC's network connectivity issue. So please, it is too early to conclude emphatically on some of the issues that may have caused this challenge. What I have gotten had nothing to do with power outages. So I'm saying that we need to just take cautious. We've gone through day one. We will not create any tension as the NDC appears to be doing. But the New Patriotic Party is mainly concerned with the application of the law to ensure that all those who are eligible to be registered will get the opportunity to do so. You see, my brother, anytime we have to do registration, the bone of contention has always been the issue of the guarantor system. I'm praying that this time around, we will all respect the rules. And you see, it happens because people who have not turned 18 will be motivated by some stakeholders to try and get their names onto the electoral roll. This is not welcome. People who are not Ghanaian will want to be registered to get onto the electoral roll. Mind you, the register is key in this whole exercise. So we are present to ensure that in all these registration centers, it is only eligible people who must be registered by the youth. Other than that, there are platforms available to us to challenge, and we will do so in line with the law.
Right, and of course, that is what is expected of you. But just to clarify, Mr. Nimako, so when you were talking about we have to tread cautiously with some of what we are saying, as for the network challenges, in fact, I have from the EC a plethora of challenges they faced. But the bit about power, as per reports, and as per the EC itself. Now, if you look at the 7th point, light out in some areas, some parts of northern regions, Swaman, Bibiani, Bekwai, Amenfi West, Suhum, Upper Dentra, West Gomoa Central, Dafiama, Busie, Isa, among others, also comes up. So I don't know why you think it was maybe cooked up or something. There were power challenges as well.
Mr. Kafu, I'm not saying it's cooked up. The places you've mentioned, if we are looking at the number of registration centers in these areas, I don't know the composition, whether it constitutes 20%, 10% of the registration centers, or what percentage. I'm saying that we've gone through day one with challenges. EC system not performed because of network issues. The initial arrangement that came to us was that there were activation code issues and all that. But I don't want it to sound as if it's power outages that caused the whole issue of people not being able to register.
Oh, no one is suggesting that. That's not.
That is the impression I don't want. That's why I said we should tread caution. I didn't say that anybody anywhere is trying to cook stories for the consumption of the general public.
Okay, so let's look at, and of course, like I started by saying, the EC did a good job yesterday. You can't take that away from them. The only bits are that we want as many people who are qualified to register. The EC itself has a target of about 632,000 based on the analysis of how many people get registered every year or every 4 years. So we're hoping that they can even meet or exceed. But there are other challenges, some of which I'll bring your way before I get to other things that we saw on the ground. So as part of this documentation, right, printouts, the claim is that over 90% of the centers were not able to print out the required start of day printout across the country. Yesterday, I had Dr. Saribo Kweku here, who was here while we mentioned that some parts had not even started at 7, that they could not start. Then there were late starts in a number of centers due to power outages, network challenges, and some other technical problems. So if you look at the region, even in Ashanti, Adansi Asokwa, Ifija Setre East did not start. In Adansi Asokwa, it started at 9:53. In the Western region, Amenfi East started at 9 a.m. In Shama, Mpoho, Sekendi, and Nandom, there was no start at all. Then you look at Upper West, Nandom, not started. Upper West, Sisala West, not started. Northeast, all of them were affected, not started due to system malfunctions and all that. Then in terms of code activation, Bono, Oti Central, Upper East regions were affected. Network challenges, Volta, Afajato South, Pando, Anglo, Ketu South, Agoteme, Ziope, all affected. Western North, Bodi, Akontombra, Sefiri also, Northeast, Wale, Northeast again, Kabori. I mean, it goes on and on. All the way to Savannah, Greater Accra, Ablekuma Central, Ablekuma South, Ningo Pram, Adan, all affected. And then maybe the fifth point before you come in. System malfunctions. Registration at some centers were not going on due to challenges with machines and other technical challenges. So Bono East, Western, Volta, Savannah, it goes on and on. How do you feel we can streamline this? Thankfully, it's just day one. So we have ample time to get things done. What's the collaboration like, and what are your expectations for today on the back of that?
Well, I'm happy this is coming from the EC that they've been able to categorize the issue. When you take the end of day report, it's supposed to come to parties with representation at the registration centers to know exactly the number of people who were registered and captured in the system. So that's the end of the report. In previous registration exercise, you realize that if your agents are not able to write these names of those who have turned out to register, end of the report printout will give you a challenge. And so this is something that is experienced over the years. We're hoping that in this 21-day exercise, we won't experience it. But when the whole exercise started, what came through was that their network or systems were not functioning. A few places will have the challenge of power outage. But I'm saying that it was just day one, and we wouldn't want to use the bad experience of day one to judge the whole exercise, because ahead of us in the remaining 20 days, we don't know exactly what is going to happen. All that we expect is that the EC system will function properly. We are also informed by the EC that in an event of power outage, the system has an inbuilt generator or power system that can enable people to register. And so that's something that let's hasten slowly on the issue of outages. It wasn't mainly because of power outages. That one, and I can assure you. But activation code issue on the part of the EC is what needs to be addressed. And we are looking for that the remaining days people will not spend their time to visit registration centers and will be denied because their system is not functioning properly.
There was also this issue that came up. My colleague Cecilia Dapaah was on hand in Ayawaso Central, and she makes mention of this place where she was, and a purported national security operative was being filmed. He got upset. But what was happening? He was supposedly letting some people, some of whose ages are a bit in doubt, whether they are not much more than 18 or less, somehow getting them into the registration center, jumping the queue, and it became a bit problematic. I bring it up because of the importance of our security operatives in the entirety of the process and how they shouldn't be seen to be compromised. Your reaction to that? I mean, how do we stave the process of such happenings so that things can go on without people feeling intimidated or as though some people were being treated more than others?
Well, I've mentioned that all stakeholders must respect the rules of the game. My brother, it's not because I've known you. You visit my village and you inform the chief that we are from national security. Nobody will know. And this exercise is being managed by the EC. And so issue of national security's involvement in I can hardly speak to it. Unfortunately, I was not at this registration center, and I don't have the full facts yet. But what the New Patriotic Party has always spoke against has been the issue of this guarantor system, because it is always abused. It is the reason why the New Patriotic Party supported the EC to table a new CI that will address this issue of guarantor system, so that if we're using our Ghana card as a means of identification, I'm not saying it will have been 100% foolproof, but largely the abuse would have been lesser. But unfortunately, we missed the point. So we are expecting that all those who are supposed to go through this exercise will respect the laws. And the EC on this issue must be very firm in getting the security to arrest and prosecute. The New Patriotic Party would not support anything other than ensuring that the laws are complied and you have a very peaceful and smooth arrangement. They said national security person, I don't know him. I'll have difficulty speaking to him because I don't have the full facts.
Mr. Dimako, please hold for me. Let me also bring in Dr. Omane Boama into the conversation. Good morning. Good morning, Doc. Do we have Dr. Edward Omane Boama on the line? Okay, so it doesn't appear we have him. At least I cannot hear any feedback from him. But I see that he put up something on Twitter, was it yesterday or so, where in fact he took a screenshot or a photo of a voter card that had been printed. I will not mention the person's name, but with the person's voter ID and then age 19. The residential address is Kasua Town, Kasua, but the district is given as Ayawaso North. And he was posing the question, Electoral Commission, how can Kasua, that is Central Region, be Ayawaso North in the Greater Accra region? And he says, day one of the voter registration exercise has seen avoidable challenges. Late start, inaccessible activation codes, EC's poor network, excuse Dumso, and more. And he says the EC must do better, since he's not joined us yet. Mr. Nimako, do you have, I mean, you are not an EC official, so I cannot say that. Okay, so we have Peter Otokunor joining the conversation right now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Right. I was just reflecting on your colleague Omane Boama's reflections on some of what happened yesterday. But let me find out, what are your reactions from what happened yesterday, day one of the limited voter registration exercise?
Well, first of all, I think that this exercise started rather slowly, and it was expected because the Electoral Commission heralded the processes with very low publicity. And so you would expect that public awareness would be low, and that means that participation would be low. But there are areas where we have seen significant, participation of citizens, because political parties, as part of our efforts to get most of our people registered, have engaged in mass mobilization exercise. We had raised the issue with the registration centers being located in the district offices, which we felt would be a challenge for participation. And so that meant that the political parties had to do much more to get people to register. But I mean, yesterday, day one, the numbers were rather low, and we expect that it will pick up, but not without challenges. We have seen some numerous challenges across board. Some instances, very late start of the exercise, which got people standing in queues for a very long time. We thought that the registration processes, we will not have such instances, but I mean, we have recorded instances where people have been in queues for a very long time, and they had to get the registration done rather late. Then we have seen other concerns as well, which we have raised with the Electoral Commission. Some include activation codes. Some of the BVR devices, had issues with the activation processes. And we have realized and picked some information which we are cross-checking with the Electoral Commission on the motive behind the switch in the processes for activation of the devices.
What do you think the motives could have been?
Indeed.
Because once you use the word motive, then you are suggesting something.
Certainly, I'm driving directly at that. Indeed, if you look at the processes that were previously employed in activating the BVRs, previously the Electoral Commission at the headquarters will give them a general entry point into the BVR devices, give them the activation codes. Then when you have accessed the BVR, then you now change the activation code to a local activation code, which local activation code will now restrict you to only operating in that district. And for that matter, nobody else sitting anywhere can have an external access to your system. But the processes have changed now. Now the Electoral Commission is now asking the districts to devise their own activation codes and send the respective activation codes back to the headquarters. So this is a reverse process, which we felt may be problematic, because if anybody sitting at the headquarters is having access to the activation code, that means that for every district, somebody sitting at the headquarters can access the BVR devices, and that may be problematic. And so we are worried about the motive behind the switch in processes, particularly having realized that now the Electoral Commission headquarters is not a safe place to be keeping, electoral materials, as has been recorded recently, where some BVDs and BVR devices.
I think explanations have been clear. Explanations have been given on that, on what exactly happened. They met, and when I had Dr. Sribo Kweku here just a few days ago, he made clear. In fact, yesterday, he made clear they had reached end of life. There are protocols in terms of dealing with them, and those protocols were followed. So why do we keep going back and forth on that point?
I guess maybe we may be speaking about different things, but if we are speaking about the same BVR devices that
you're speaking of the stolen ones, not the auctioned ones. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm talking about the stolen ones.
Yes, but even on the stolen, on the ones, Dr. Otokunor, on the stolen ones, the EC, Director of Electoral Services, made clear that there are processes, again, the computers, for example, they are used for a specific period and they are discharged before whatever. So there's no way any information that person would have had on the computer, there would be nothing on that system. So that's why I'm struggling, because per his explanation, if we had to go by it, per that explanation, then whether the stolen ones or the ones that had been auctioned off, there was no information on them, and they can't possibly be used anywhere.
So Gapo, that would be grossly misleading if anybody tells you that it cannot be used anywhere, because we are talking about specially designed laptops that fit into specially designed BVRs with the softwares for registration. All those laptops that were stolen have the interface of the BVR system. In actual fact, the activation code that I'm speaking about is activated on the laptop, not on any of the accessories of the BVR. Remember, the BVR comes as a briefcase with a number of accessories, and the key accessory to the BVR is the laptop. The rest is the fingerprint, a scanner, and if you want, the camera that takes the photos. Now, when you get the laptop, you actually have a full BVR, because the fingerprint scanners, you can get some, for even 200 Ghana cedis anywhere. Then the cameras, you can get some for even 100 Ghana cedi anywhere. And so anybody having access to the laptop has complete access to a BVR.
But again, the point is made that I'll let you land. But the point is made that these laptops or the BVRs use SD cards. There are QR codes and all of that. And election to election, there are specific ones that are used. In other words, what was used in the past election, you can't necessarily use them because each one has a QR code. That means that you can't go and use something that has been stolen. It's a batch, and they stick according to that. Does not give you confidence?
If you had allowed me, perhaps maybe you would have understood the processes better. This has nothing to do with QR code. The BVR has nothing to do with QR code. The BVR is the system that allows you to register an individual. So when you come in there and they activate the software, it opens up and gives you an interface where you can enter the name, the bio details of the individual, then you take a picture, then you add the fingerprint scanner, which automatically enters into the database of the Electoral Commission. So immediately you have been able to activate that software. You are in the database. Anything you enter goes into the database. And that's why you are able to get a printout. It is not an SD card problem. That is the BVD. Remember, there are two things here that confuses people. We have the BVD, which is a biometric verification device, which is used on election day, which again, some have also been stolen. They claim it was damaged, but they have now agreed that some have been stolen. Then we have the BVR, which is the biometric register kit. So that's the BVR. And that is what is being used today in the process. And we are saying that the laptops are the critical elements of the BVR. And so if anybody gets a laptop, he actually has a BVR and can do anything to the system. And so that links to the suspicion that I was raising about, the processes being changed. So if now the districts are supposed to activate the softwares themselves with a guide, and the persons who have stolen these laptops get the guide to activate those laptops, it means that they can do registration anywhere, which will feed into the system. The issue about the missing laptops and the missing BVR goes beyond the explanation that the Electoral Commission is giving. It is much more grievous and dangerous and underpins the integrity of our electoral processes. We may have to interrogate it some more. Let's not be taking those explanations, it is nothing, if it is stolen, it doesn't have the scanner and all those things, so it cannot work. No, it is not true. Anybody who has a laptop and has the system and is able to activate the system is in the database. Unless the Electoral Commission are telling us that they have redesigned a new, entry point into the database and that all the softwares on the current BVRs have been changed. But that has not been done. It means that anybody having the laptop can access the Electoral Commission registration database if he activates that and can.
So your suspicion, Dr. Kwama Otokunor, is that these BVRs, as you insist, will be used to compromise the process, and there is no way, you've been to IPAC on this, there's no way that the Electoral Commission can circumvent this. Is that what you're suggesting?
That is what we are suspecting. By all technical knowledge and the standard operating procedures for these BVRs, unless maybe they are giving us better explanations. I would have wanted the Electoral Commission to come out and tell us how they can prevent such instances from happening, or how they can prevent, how their systems have been built enough, to secure itself from, external entry, particularly as and when these devices have been stolen. So we are not getting that explanation. And from what you heard from Dr. Shribwokweku, it doesn't appear to be enough explanation to put us at ease that this problem could be prevented.
Okay, hold for me briefly. Let me bring back Evans Nimako. Mr. Nimako, are you still with me?
Yes, please.
Okay, you've listened to your counterpart on the other side, Dr. Peter Boama Otokunor. He's raised concern, and I know these matters have been discussed at IPAC, and your end has said at a point that, look, it's not that serious. Does it become more serious with what he is saying now, especially with the kickstart of the limited voter registration exercise? And is it true, what he says, that, these laptops could be used anywhere to register people at different points. Do you agree with that line of thinking?
Okay, thank you. But we've never said as a party that the issue of missing materials of the EC should not be taken serious. We've never said that in it.
No, I never said that they shouldn't be taken seriously. But I have heard, and I can check, that it is not that the NDC is suggesting that the NDC is making a mountain out of a molehill, and that it's not such a bad issue. I have heard that. I can easily check for you, sir.
Well, I think that the NDC must help with the prosecution of this whole exercise. The EC said portions of their BVR kits have been stolen, 5 of them, laptops, and they reported to the police. Let the NDC assist the police to undertake this investigation. The issue of characterization or recharacterization of the activation code, I think the EC should be in a position to inform us of how this exercise is being done this time round. I also think that we shouldn't create unnecessary tension in this whole exercise. The issue of missing BVDs, DVRs that the NDC were confusing it initially until IPAC cleared it that it is portion of the BVR kit, which is the computer that had been stolen and has been reported. They had earlier put forward the issue that it is BVDs that were missing. Be as it may, things have been stolen at the EC's office. EC has reported the issue to the police. Let all those who have information assist with the investigation so that we can move on. On the issue of registration exercise, somebody registers in Kaswa, which is the central region, and is issued with an ID that has information.
Ayawaso North.
Putting the person to a district in Greater Accra. Will all be part of the questions that we have to put to the EC to let us know how they have done their code so that this whole issue of MESPA will be addressed. But I'm happy that Dr. Boama mentioned that anytime registration starts, you experience these kind of challenges. That's why I said earlier that going forward, I expect that issue of EC system activation challenges here and there will be addressed. We've gotten that from the EC yesterday, and I'm hoping that today onwards, we are not going to experience that. But I can understand the NDC will never stop to a large extent some of these allegations and issues that they have little defense for. We have discussed this missing laptop and iPad. I can have strong difficulty as to how a computer out of the BVR kit could be used in a certain area by somebody to generate voters list. But to a large extent, I will not be surprised because if you remember, between Madame Charlotte Osei and Alhaji Sule, there was an issue of registration aside the normal EC registration time. And so, if NDC is raising this issue, I'm not surprised. But I think that the system that the EC has put in place now will not give credence to some of these issues Dr. Otokunor is raising. And I've said that the New Patriotic Party, our eyes are on all the processes that will lead to the EC undertaking registration exercise because the register is key.
Okay.
And if we go back, the New Patriotic Party has always been firm and clear on how we can have credible register.
So, all right. So just to clarify,
and the NDC thinks that they have issues, they should raise it accordingly. But we should put to rest this issue of missing laptops and how it can influence the registration. Even kits, BVR kits in registration centers yesterday, with that activation code, could not function.
Right.
I can a mere laptop, 5 of them, generate a whole register for the conduct of 2024 election.
Okay, so just before I take your final words on a specific matter, gentlemen, Mr. Dapaah, so what you're saying is you have full trust in, and just tell me if what you're saying is that you have full trust in the EC to navigate this process and to ensure that the right things are done, right?
I'm not saying you will not have full trust.
No, but you have trust in the EC to be able to conduct this freely, fairly, and to register people.
As it is in the law, all processes must be followed accordingly, and we will monitor it.
Okay. Mr. Dapaah, don't go. I have a final bit for both of you, and then that's it. Peter Boamah Otokunor, do you have that same faith in the Electoral Commission? Briefly.
Well, past events has not given us any ample confidence, any modicum of confidence in the Electoral Commission, and I'm sure by now you should know that. But most importantly,
you say modicum, so you don't even have the least confidence in the EC.
Absolutely not. And let me make the point that it is only
but Peter Boamah, I'm sorry I'm heckling you. I'm sorry I'm heckling you. How can you say that? The EC, every EC has had some problems, but they still carry out their work. You're saying you're not even giving them the least bit of credit on this matter. Is that fair?
Well, maybe they have a lot to prove to the NDC and the entire general Ghanaian populace, and we are very, very expectant of that. We are all hoping to build confidence in the Electoral Commission because they are a state institution. But incidentally, we have not had that in the past, and it is our hope that we are going to get that in future. But back to the point, I want to emphasize that it may be only an uninitiated person who doesn't understand the electoral process who would say that a missing laptop from the BVR kit is not a problem. In actual fact, what you have to interrogate is what constitutes the BVR kit. There are 3 major components: the laptop, the fingerprint scanner, and the camera. That's all. Those are what do you call BVR kits? These are the items. Now, the key component is the laptop. The laptop is the one that houses the software which we activate to give you access to the system to start the registration exercise. If the scanner gets missing, I do not have a problem because the scanners may not be any challenging. If the cameras are missing, nobody would even talk. But in this case, it is the laptop that is missing. The laptop is actually the main BVR kit. If you do not have the laptop, you can't do any data entry and you can't register anybody. And so our point is that for the laptops to be missing and they are not yet found, and the Electoral Commission now devises even new processes of activation, which makes it even easier for somebody to access the software and to activate the software and do extrajudicial registration. It's a big problem. And those are the things that must be interrogated. That is the conversation that we are bringing on board.
Okay.
It's not about somebody confusing BVDs and BVR. In actual fact, the allegations that we made all were correct and genuine and true. Indeed, BVR devices too are missing. When we raised the issue of the BVD devices, they said that, the BVD devices were during the assembly elections, some got destroyed. Well, we have seen communications from the Electoral Commission which sought to suggest that some of the districts were keeping the BVR devices and they couldn't retrieve all. But they have come and agreed that some of the BVD devices are also missing. Then the BVR devices are also missing. But what I am speaking to specifically today, which is of relevance to the conversation now, is the BVR kits.
All right.
From which
I think that point,
missing,
that point
which we believe is a challenge.
Is clear. Just a final bit, 1 minute each, gentlemen. We have to go. Day one, there were some challenges, even with vouching and all of that. How challenging was this for you? What are the actions? Because I know that on both sides, there were some challenges raised. What is the way forward on that? Final words, less than a minute each. I'll start with you, Dr. Otokunor.
Okay, so there are numerous challenges, breakdown of systems, the printers are not working, and as you have rightly mentioned, some guarantor system challenges. Now, we would need the Electoral Commission to clarify for the general populace the issues with the guarantor systems, because by law, every single individual is supposed to guarantee for not more than 10 people. And when you do that, you have violated the processes and you may even suffer your own registration. And so that is a matter that exists. But remember, the current registration database that we have has gone through 3 cycles. And so there was the first cycle in 2020, the next second cycle in 2023, then there is this cycle in 2024. Now, the Electoral Commission must clarify to us how they have designed the system. Whether in 2020 somebody had guaranteed for 9 people, in 2013 that person could guarantee for another 9 people, and for that matter in 2024 they can guarantee for another 9 or 10 people.
Right.
Is it the case that the limit is based on the registration cycle, or as a human being, when you guarantee for 10 people you cannot guarantee again? All this must be explained clearly.
I think those are things that you can get answers for at IPAC. Those are things that you can definitely get answers for at IPAC.
No, Kaku, this one, it is not IPAC matter because the process is ongoing. And so that must be, explained. That must be cleared so that it will not affect the process. Because after this registration, there will not be any registration exercise again. And I doubt if there will be any IPAC during these processes. So all these things must be cleared so that we would be able to have a smooth registration exercise.
Thank you so much, Doc, for joining the conversation. Let me hear from Evans Nimako and then we're gone. Evans?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, you see, this whole exercise, the conversation is centering around the guarantor system. If it had been taken away in the new year, I don't think we would have been backing our head over this.
Yeah, but what do you think about what he says? In each cycle, if someone guaranteed for 9 people or 10 people, do they have the right in the next cycle to do it, or is it 10 and you are done? Those are crucial questions.
Yes, I think on that score, I agree with Dr. Otokunor. Yesterday, it came to me that the EC at the point said that if you guarantee for somebody and you've exceeded the threshold of 10, you cannot do again. We must know whether it ends in each registration system or it's a continuing thing. It's an interpretation that must come from the EC. So on that score, I agree with him. But we want to urge all those who are part of this exercise, political parties, the media, the EC, to ensure that you have a fair system, peaceful one, of course, to allow people who are eligible to be registered to go through the process. And those who want to abuse it, I think that they must face the law. It can't be right that you are not due, you are not qualified. You still want to find local means to get onto the electoral roll.
Right. Mr. Nimako, we are so grateful. Every time we call on you, you are so gracious and you join us. We're grateful for your time, sir. That is Evans Nimako, who joined the conversation there, Director of Research and Elections with the NPP. We also had Dr. Peter Boama Otokunor of the NDC joining the conversation as well. But stay with us, because even as we move away from here, we're talking about other crucial matters, topical matters. The OSP and EOCO are slugging it out. It's becoming a brawl, a melee, with the AG on a different end. The question is, are we doing what is right in the fight against corruption? And how did we get here? We'll be back with more on some of those issues. Welcome back on the AM show. Time now for us to get into our next conversation. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the OSP and EOCO tussle, we have joining us in the studio to dilate on quite a number of matters, the GJA President, Albert Dwumfour. He joins me in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Benjamin.
And this is the second time within this week that I've got you. The first time was virtually.
Yes, and this one is in person.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
My first bit, though, I can't help it. It's been a while now since you've been president of the GJA. If I asked you today, what is the state of journalism in Ghana? What's the state of the GJA? What would you say?
For me, thank you, Akako, for your question, and good morning to your Sherry's viewers. I think that this is really your question.
I've thrown you a bit.
A bit, I'm telling you, I've really thrown me in because I'm expecting people like you. Sometimes it's really difficult to assess your own self. You need members, or maybe you need to be critiqued by your own people who are really watching. But I would say that for me, when you look at the state of the GJ now, GJ is very appealing. GJ is now proactive. GJ is now doing the bit of the people. GJ is now seeking the welfare and interest of journalists. And GJ is now visible compared to before.
I've seen some interesting things you've done. You've been more biting when it comes to assaults on journalists, and you've you've even started something that I've not seen in a long time. You are blacklisting.
Of course. You see, at a point we realized that the speed and increase of attack on journalists and the media was really getting abnormal, and we needed to take such a radical decision. And for me, I believe that the end result is that has actually reflected in our Web Press Freedom Index, in the ranking. Because when you look at the security and safety, you realize that in all the indicators, and when we're having
I think about a 20% increment.
Yes, increment. Right. And that should tell you that now...
And that was the only one where we actually made
gains.
Positive in there.
Yes, because the other 4 indicators, we still synced. But for that one, I don't think we would have really improved on our word ranking. And regardless of even the fact that other countries were underperformed during the year under review, we could have still not gotten to where we are. Now, journalists feel more secured, more saved. They feel unintimidated. They go about their usual duty because they know they have an association, a very proactive leader for that matter, who has their interests at heart. And so we have a lot of options available to us, as I mentioned. This is really just one of them, and I think that it's working. It's doing the magic.
Right.
Yes, that is what the politicians understand. And those evildoers who comes after a journalist, this is what they understand. Boot for boot. They think that they cannot just you can't just come and then just slap a journalist, or maybe attack a journalist, put a journalist life that threat, and you think that we will watch you to go scot-free. If the laws of the state wouldn't deal with you, we will deal with you in our own way, because we are the carriers of your policies. And so if you will not respect us, you will not protect us. I always say that if you don't have the capacity, if you don't have the temperature to accommodate journalists during this election year, just stay away from us. Stay away from us, allow us to discharge our duty. But if you come attacking us, we will come after you. And we will make sure that we will bite you harder.
And this point you make, even before we get into more of the Press Freedom Index, you see that you also have Farouk Aliyu Mahama, the Yendi legislator, and his latest apology in that regard. How do you find that? Because some were saying that, you're being fair to him, you're being fair to Mavis Hawa, unfair to Mavis Hawa Kumsil and others. But eventually, things are happening.
I think for us, you see, blacklist or blackout in itself is not, like I said, it's not a long term decision or action, unless maybe the person involved does not actually make a move. Because what we said is that usually before we blacklist somebody, we make some demands. And once the person, vis-a-vis the police or whoever the perpetrator, moves to actually meet the demands, we will have to soften our grounds. Like I said, we also be mindful that we wouldn't have boomerang effect on whatever decision we take against any perpetrator or attack on the media. And so for us, we yesterday, he actually called on the leadership of the GJ.
That is Farouk Aliyu
Mahama. He came in a delegation led by the Minister of Information Designate. And I think that we haven't taken a decision yet. we are yet to meet. The partners were there. We have the Media Foundation for West Africa. We have GIBA. We have the Primpac. All of us were there. So the Minister of Information Designate, the Deputy Minister was there. Farouk led. Also among the delegation was the Director.
I see Sylvester Tete.
Yes,
also there.
Yes. So this is actually one of the pictures we took. We had a number of them. We have Professor Amin Al-Hassan, Director General, GBC. He was part of his delegation. But when he got there, he said, because he's a journalist, he's now on the side of the DJ. And so we welcome the apology. For me, I think it's long overdue. Rook should have known that you can't fight the media. This is the
but you see, sometimes when those statements are made, we must also be clear. You can't fight the media, but the media is also not above scrutiny or above correction.
Of course. We agree to that. And that is why, as we even condemn attack on journalists, we have been very reactive in also advising and also preaching professionalism. We have taken the opportunity to caution our members to remain professional, to make sure that we don't go below the standards. At least we should be guided by the ethics of the profession and also be circumspect in whatever we put out there. We have cautioned our members. So you realize that, in January, usually when you look at the record from 2000 down the lane, you realize that in the second quarter of an election year, we have recorded this attack on the media compared to previous history. When you go into history, you realize in just 2024, you understand, Ghana recorded almost more than 12 attacks within that's 2020 election year. You understand? Now we are in an election year. In January alone, we recorded 3 attacks. But for our resolve to blacklist these dishonorable politicians or MP, because these attacks were all orchestrated by politicians or political activities. And when we took this decision, we are in May, January, February, March, April, May, we still stand at the 3 on record. So far as the GJ is concerned, we have only recorded 3. Maybe there are some that has not come to our attention, we don't know. And this means that this is a good one. If we're able to keep the pace like this in an election year, it will be one of the best year ever that journalists really discharged their duty or went about their duty without facing any occupation.
So I mean, you accepted the reactions of Mavis Hawa Kumsin back then.
Yes.
So I guess, and just clarify for me, and now there's Farouk Aliyu Mahama. So the blackout or blacklisting over for them, is it?
No, we haven't said that. Like I said,
I'm trying to find out from you.
No, we haven't said that. And I mentioned earlier that we are yet to take a decision on Farouk Mahama.
On both of them?
No.
Or just on Farouk?
Yes, our Kumsin's blackout was lifted.
Right, because I remember something, that's why I was saying.
Yes, it was lifted. Right. Because he had also come and in line with the demands we made of her, she was ready to cooperate with us. She even went ahead to even at least fulfill some of the commitments she made. And I think that when the GJ comes out on the update on this matter, we will put it across. We will let the whole public, our members, know what our Kumsin has done since we lifted the ban. Right. But for Farouk, yes, he has rendered an qualified apology. He was really passionate about it, and really, yes, we think that is a step in the right direction.
But what do you think the resolution is likely to be? Are you also going to lift the ban on him? What can we expect?
It takes, this is really roadside, and I wouldn't want to preempt the decision of the partners or team, because I'm going to do this with 3 or 4 other partners. And I think that, for me, by close of day today, or maybe tomorrow, you will hear the position of the GJ and the partners on Farouk Mahama. But for now, we agree that he has really, he called on us, rendered an qualified apology with the Minister of Information Designate. He actually confessed and heeded to all the charges against him.
Confessed to what?
Oh, but we have already chastised him of assaulting a journalist. A charge that he denied earlier.
Yes, but you say he confessed.
No,
what did he confess to?
Yes, he actually confessed that this whole, in fact, the blacklist has really changed him. It has really made him, because he has learned so much, and he has come to realize the importance of the media and all that, and admitted that yes, he really acted, should I say, recklessly in the midst of tension and pressure. You understand, during the election, he actually made some admissions, and so for us, that is what is important. Yes, that admitting to guilt, because if he has not admitted, what are you apologizing for? So that is
but it could be that he was apologizing for the surrounding circumstances and also to, of course, get the blackout or blacklist off. Not necessarily, because when you use confess, it comes with a certain connotation. That's why I'm being careful.
Yes.
And asking what he confessed to. It doesn't necessarily mean he's admitting to wrongdoing. No. Or that's the impression you got.
Okay, no. I said he made admissions. For the confession, he had confessed that, look, this is somebody who at the beginning of all this brouhaha had come out to say he was going to court. He's taking the GJ to court. He actually challenged the position of City. He actually challenged our position. He has denied permanently or not attacking body and all that, regardless of, did not regard the position of the GJ.
Okay, in the midst of all that you've mentioned, what I am interested in is, did he admit that he did assault anybody?
Of course, that's what I'm saying, that he made some admissions.
He admitted that he actually assaulted?
Yeah, he made admissions. He admitted, because, like I said, what will he be apologizing for? You get what I'm saying? We have said that you have done A, B, C, D, and so we are blacklisting you. So if you come and you say that, okay, I want to come and apologize to you, and what are you apologizing for? You are apologizing because, like I said, I don't want to preempt what we will come out with, because maybe before close of day tomorrow, you will hear the position.
We'll get the details.
Yes, we'll get the details and everything. But I can say that he made admissions. For that one, I can assure you of that. Yeah.
All right. Let's get into the Press Freedom Index just briefly, because we've already spoken about it. But what does it mean for Ghana? Like you said, 5 metrics, we fell in 4, some marginally, some a bit big.
Yeah.
Only on the point of security did we appreciate by about 20 percentage points. But that's also on the back of the fact that many of the countries we rubbed shoulders with last year also depreciated in terms of their performance, right?
Of course.
So some have also said that it's a win, but it's really a loss in different ways. Your summary thoughts on that briefly, and we'll move on to other very pertinent
matters. You see, I agree with those who will not be excited with improvement on the world ranking. And I also disagree with them at the same time. We appreciate the fact that as a country, we have moved from a lower ranking, that is 26, to 28, to 30, then straight to 60, then we come back to 50. And I believe that is why people there's this argument, or people feel that what is in there to be happy about, or what is in there to jubilate. But I think that Akakpo is very, very simple. The fact is that we actually have sung for 2 consecutive years. 2 years ago, we moved from 30 to 60. Then we synced again, we moved from 60 to 62, just a year. And within a span of 1 year, we've been able to improve from 62 to 50. You have at least 12 points. For me, I think that as to whatever accounted for it, whatever led to that, shouldn't be the matter. What matter is that, at least in the world political system or in the world media landscape, they will still view Ghana as the gateway of democracy. They will still view Ghana as a place who actually respect the freedom and independence of the media, regardless of the few unwarranted maybe issues we are dealing with. And one of the things that has also affected us, and I wanted for us to draw attention to, is the economic indicator. Because when you look at, since the introduction of this indicator about 4 or 5 years ago, no, I think about 3 or 4 years ago, that is when Ghana started actually sinking. What it means is that, yes, aside the attacks on the media, on journalists, the unwarranted and unprovoked attacks, there is still an indicator that we have to work on, being the economic indicator. What is the working conditions of journalists? How much are journalists being paid? You understand? What is journalists take home? You understand? This is really, because under the economic indicator, you will see issues of self-censorship and all that.
Right.
You understand? And all that, influence peddling and all that. And this is where we are really working assiduously and hard. We have been engaging the major stakeholders involved, the key stakeholders, to see how we can improve on the working condition of journalists. I met with the president of the land, and one of the issues I raised is about even salaries of media practitioners and journalists in the state media. If you cannot even support the private media, what happens to the state media? The state media is suffering. In fact, when I tell you the salary of an editor at, let's say, Times or an editor in GNA, you will be shocked. They are really underpaid. And so, do you expect such people to act professionally, to discharge their work without any influence, without being unprofessional? Do you expect them to still maintain standard? They have family, they have a life to live.
I mean, that would be the expectation, because you get into the job and you know what it requires. It's like becoming a Catholic priest and not deciding to be celibate. You knew what you were getting into, and we know that this is not a rosy.
Yes.
But the reality too is that with the economy and things, some people may be tempted to veer off.
Of course.
So, but it's not to say that
inflation doubling up and all that.
Yeah, I get that.
You see, but what we are saying is that, yes, of course, you may take an offer knowing very well that this is what you are, but at least we all have expectations that maybe going into it, at least there will be some improvement. There will be some, you get what I'm saying? And so this is something we have actually called on the government to look at. And once we are able to work on this economic indicator, and this is where I linked in the Doomsaw issue.
Right.
You understand? Because if the economic indicator, when you look at it, we keep sinking. We were, look at in 2023 or 4, this indicator actually brought us to 62. This time around, we are still down there. And this means that there's much to be done under this indicator. Now, Doomsaw, how is Doomsaw affecting the operations?
And let me start for you. There are some days you will come to work and all you hear is brrr, brrr, because the lights are out, and a generator has to kick in. The generator or the plant is extra cost to our business.
Of course.
After you've paid for prepaid credits. You see, the problem is it's prepaid.
Yes.
You've already paid for the power. Unlike I am paying for what I consume.
Yes.
I've actually paid for it already.
Yes.
So when you deny me, it's a problem. And then I have to find extra money to purchase power a plant for as long as the power is out.
I think erratic power supply, we are not interested in the politics around it. But the fact still remains that it is really affecting, even aside media practice, aside the operations of the media, we are talking about even the citizens. As the media, we are the watchdogs of the people's right. The constitutions empower us to make sure that we always protect the citizens. You understand? And this is one of our roles. And so in protection of the citizens and even the media, that is why our platform are actually used in what? In propagating or in communicating, engaging, educating, informing our listenership, which is the citizens of this country. Now, like you rightly indicated, you expect employers or maybe media owners or heads to pay their staff very well, and you embedded them with high cost of operations, because as we know, during Doomsaw, during that time when there was Doomsaw, there are some media houses, not every media house was doing 24 hours. There are some media houses, due to the Doomsaw and the Shetland, they were doing 24, how do we call it, 5 to 12 a.m. At 12, they go off air and then come back at 5 a.m. Because usually between the hours of 12 a.m. and 5 a.m., there is always music, you get it. There's no much serious content, let me put it in that way. And so, the effect on the economic indicator is that if I am incurring additional cost, one, to even have to one purchase, some people don't have industrial genset. Do you know that? Not every media house have industrial genset. And so, if the person have to now find money to go and purchase a genset just because we find ourselves in an electric power supply, and then the person will again have to buy this. Currently, we know that fuel prices keep shooting up, keep increasing. And at this juncture, at this period where inflation is so high, have to purchase fuel to be able to power the genset. And in addition, the effect is also affecting our machines, equipment that we use. Because if you don't have strong step down or maybe protection,
it will affect your
equipment.
Just hold for me briefly. There's also a topical bid happening. You know about the LGBTQ bid and the Apex Court and the ruling. Well, it's D-Day. We're going to be hearing based on that ruling, and we have Kweku Asante, our court correspondent, as well on that beat. Kweku Asante. If you can hear me, what exactly can we expect today? Tell us more about this request that we've heard coming through from the Attorney General. What's the latest on that?
Well, Benjamin, it is very rare to have the Supreme Court hold public hearings. In fact, to beam broadcasting of their proceedings is something that does not usually happen. The last time the Supreme Court did hold a public hearing in terms of a live broadcast was the 2020 election petition filed by NDC presidential candidate in that election, John Dramani Mahama. Today, the court is set to hear some 2 cases filed against the anti-LGBTQ bill. We know that broadcaster and lawyer Richard Delaskai has filed against challenging the constitutionality of the bill that was passed by Parliament. There's also another case by researcher Dr. Amanda Odoi. And so the Supreme Court has listed those cases to be heard today. And today, the Attorney General had written to the Chief Justice requesting for a live audience. And in fact, let me read the letter from the Attorney General. It says, respectfully, in view of the public interest in the cases concerning the anti-LGBTQ bill, I would like to recommend that the media, including radio and television, be given full access to the relevant courts to undertake coverage of all proceedings in those cases concerning the bill. And so that is the request that went to the Chief Justice by the Attorney General. We have not heard officially from the Chief Justice yet if she has granted this, but this morning, cameras have actually been allowed into the court. I don't remember the last time I did a live from the Supreme Court pews. You can see the judges and parties to the case who have all taken their seat, awaiting the Chief Justice and the bench to come in and administer these cases that have been filed against the constitutionality of that controversial anti-LGBTQ bill. But today, it appears to be so. We will hear from the Chief Justice officially when she comes in with the bench as to why she has allowed cameras to come in here. We've seen international broadcasters, a number of Ghanaian media houses setting up stage here in the Supreme Court building to allow this. So very soon, when the bench comes, we will get to know the panel, the number of judges who are going to hear these cases against the anti-LGBTQ bill. One, the Richard Alaska case, the Dr. Amanda Odoi case. We are also yet to know whether the court will consolidate those two cases and hear them together. And so all those information that we'll get to know later on. But the big news is that those cases, I should say, will be broadcast live. And in fact, on Joy News, we are going to beam those proceedings live from the Supreme Court. The 2 bills, the 2 cases, I should say, against the controversial anti-LGBTQ bill, the fight against the executive and the Parliament of Ghana as to whether or not the President should sign this. The President has said that because of these cases filed against the anti-LGBTQ bill, he's unable to sign it because of the application for injunction. Today, we expect ordinarily that the application for injunction will be heard by the Supreme Court, and then the substantive cases will also follow. But Benjamin, that is the information from the Supreme Court now. The Attorney General had requested that the Chief Justice allow live proceedings of those 2 cases because of what he calls the significant public interest in those cases. the Chief Justice appear to have granted that request because the security here at the Supreme Court have allowed journalists in with their cameras, with their recorders that ordinarily are not allowed in, and that is why we are able to beam these proceedings from the Supreme Court live. And so the course list is expected to begin unfolding at 9:30 a.m. this morning, where a number of cases concerning the anti-LGBTQ bill and other cases will be heard. The Attorney General has not yet taken a seat, but I see a senior state attorney already seated. Lawyers for the Speaker of Parliament, Thaddeus Sori, is in. I've seen Isan Kuma. I've also seen lawyer, the John Mohammed's lawyer. I don't know which particular brief he's handling in court today. Tony Lita, is also seated. Justice Sai, the former Attorney General, Marietta Brew, appear upon, is also seated. So a number of high-ranking lawyers and very prominent lawyers all in court today for some of these very important cases that the Supreme Court is set to hear today, Benjamin. And since 2020, this will be the first case that the Supreme Court is allowing a live broadcast, and it appears we are ready to witness history, Benjamin.
Until they're reporting live from the Apex Court. Thank you very much, Kweku, and we shall stay on that beat as and when the proceedings start. We'll connect there as well. But like he rightly said, I was thinking same. Since the election petition, the last one, I've not seen a live from the Apex Court. So this is a novelty. The Chief Justice has granted this request as it stands, or as it would seem. I also saw other lawyers there. I saw Marietta Brew-Opong, and I've also seen some representation from the minority and Johnson Esiedun Ketia, Hassan Ayariga, among others. So stay with us. I saw Isan Kuma as well. That is right. So we will bring you live coverage of that if permissions continue to be given. But any quick thoughts on that, the constitutionality, the last guy, Dr. Odoi, and where we've got to now? Quick thoughts.
I think Akapo, this is a very sensitive matter. We have been observing. There are few observations we have made as a major stakeholder in the democratic dispensation, but we will wait for the court proceeding to happen. We will wait to see what unfolds from the court. But I think that the court is a public place, and for the public good, it's always important that some of these issues of national interest are really telecast live. And so for me, I think that is the way to go. I commend the Attorney General for making such request, and I also commend the judiciary headed by the Chief Justice for granting it. It's important that we follow proceedings. Where we don't want the situation whereby things are done creative, and then at the end of the day, the parties will come and all will be giving their own side of what actually transpired in court. We think that for like Akapo said, your Ukwa said, it is really, this is an historic case. It's a case which will actually go down memory lane, and I know the whole world is watching. There is a larger group of interest in this matter. And so once it is done publicly, at least we will also be informed. We will also follow proceedings. And even before the case ends, we will all know how it's really, how it turns out.
A quick one. So in the midst of all of this and protecting journalists and all that, I'll get to Ahmed Swale in that situation. But there's a crucial point that has been made by the OSP, suggesting that, the situation, OSP, Yoko, AG, that they are trying to do their work. But it appears in some instances, even journalists, as far as journalists, are paid so that they will be bastardizing them, bastardizing the outfit, bastardizing their work, engaging in some sort of smear campaign. How do you react to that?
For me, I think that we been following the recent, in fact, after the comment of the Attorney General, and then the reaction from the public vis-a-vis even the reaction from the Yoko boss and all that. I know these three people really work hand in hand. I was on Monday at Kempinski. I was there. All these three people, they were there during the airs of African Commonwealth Anti-Corruption program. I met all of them. They relate so nicely. I remember the OSP even approached me. We had a chit chat, and he said that our people have been, like you just mentioned, the media usually have been citing a lot of, like, we've been making issues out of that. But I think that for me, the media has been very proactive in recent times, and to correct him, I don't think that it's whatever you put out there is what we put across.
But you made a point earlier that when you were speaking about the economic context of journalism in Ghana, many journalists are not paid well. Which means that some of them are tempted to cut corners and do things they are not.
Of course.
Does that not feed into what he's saying, that some sometimes are compromised because, you give them something, bad mouth, this or that? That is also a reality, isn't it?
But you see, so should we say, should we say that whenever the media publish news or maybe communicate positive news about the OSP recently was commended, especially in the case of Cecilia Dapaah, when they actually stepped in when no one was expecting them, because Cecilia Dapaah was a minister of state for that matter under the current administration. But for the activeness and how they even stepped into the matter, the media commended them. Should we say that he paid the media to do that? We are saying that yes, under the economic indicator, the media tempted to be influenced, but it doesn't mean that the media is under influence. What we are saying is that we ought to now look at ways of improving the working conditions of journalists, improving the lives of journalists, so that at least such temptations would not even suffice. So what the OSP is saying, the comment is making, trying to compromise or trying to indict the media being compromised, we disagree. What is the case? Is it a lie that Attorney General had said that he didn't clear Cecilia Dapaah, and that it was the OSP who did?
But the OSP says it didn't. It did not do that. And there's prima facie evidence it submitted to IOCO. IOCO should have investigated. Not you are presented with a set of facts, or at least the tip of the iceberg. You are supposed to investigate, not now ask whether you should even commence investigation.
So what that
was the point of the OSP.
Of course, I think that, yes, I understand the OSP, but then the IOCO boss has also spoken. We don't want to dive into the politicking, but I think that regardless, we will continue to caution journalists to be very circumspect and to discharge our work professionally. But I would not also agree with him saying that some journalists usually compromise. If you said they are compromised, then you come out and then tease out where the compromise is coming from. This is a fraternity. Like we have the media pluralism. You understand? Where people operate, people are not under any influence. Nobody influence editorial policies of media houses. And so you can only challenge based on fact and say that, okay, Joy said A, B, C, D, and that wasn't the case. You understand? But if you make a general comment by trying to indict journalists, by trying to now attack the professionalism of journalists, then we will not agree to that.
I am in consonance with you, but would you say same of the media, especially the private media, that by and large, is politically aligned? And that's where the devil is, because there are a lot of political elements that now have got into the media. And so you can tell. I always say it with the papers. On one story, you can almost tell when you pick paper one, you know where the angle. When you pick paper two, you know which angle they will take. Would you say same for those media entities?
You see, of course, like we said, the last time we spoke on it, I told you about the media ownership in Ghana. Most of these papers, you understand, are sponsored by some of these politicians. Like I said, aside their political interests, this paper, like you said, the Doomsday has even affected the operations of the newspapers. Some papers are unable to even come out due to all these things. Sometimes you get to the printing house and they will tell you that because of Doomsday, we don't have Gensec, we are not producing. And so this is all one with the effect of Doomsday. But Akakpo, I've said that regardless of your political affiliation, of your political interest, we are saying that you should not place professionalism under the carpet. You understand? You see, when you pick a paper like the publisher, Ghanaian publisher, he may be politically aligned. But then you pick the headlines and find out, are these headlines actually, are they really what it is? You get what I'm saying? But if they are what it is, whether it is in favor of any political party or not, and it doesn't tend to indict, you get it, to indict, or it doesn't tend to malign anybody, any other political opponent, you don't have, it is professional. Once the story in there is factual, we need to do fact-checking, factual representative of publications and all that. This makes us very professional. And when you go to the States, in the Western world, there are still media houses with political interests. We know that the CNN is aligned with the Democrat, right? The CNN.
Well, that is the claim.
And
that Fox News
is aligned too. So you see, so sometimes when they are reporting, you should expect attack on Bush. You understand? Attack on Trump and all that. And so but once they do it professionally.
Right.
They don't concoct information.
Right.
They don't publish mischief. You understand? If we try to be, as a media, if we try to be very mischievous, you try to align the persons of, and that is where issues of ethical breaches come in. That is where people can actually take you up, actually petition the NMC.
So by and large, the media is living up to expectation.
Yes, for now, I can say that better than before.
Let's address these two quick issues, and then we can draw the curtains on this conversation and move on to other pertinent matters as well. One has to do with the RTI law. It's becoming really difficult. Right here in this outfit, there are many places, the Ghana Airport Company Limited, among others. You want information, and it will be easier to go through the eye of a camel than get information from certain state agencies, even if I'm playing on words in the Bible. But sometimes the RTI Commission has to step in, fine, compel entities, and like in the SML case also, you then have information given to you hard copy, rather than soft copy, intentional to frustrate, your work. That is there. And then the second bit is Ahmed Hussein Swale. It's a blot on our conscience, isn't it, that up to now, there's still no resolution on that issue. Two quick points, maybe in 2 minutes.
I think, Benjamin, since 2020, I will start from Ahmed Swale's issue. Ahmed has been part of the Reporters Without Borders report or detailed report as to why Ghana continue to be sinking on the World Press Freedom ranking. And I think that it's important as a nation for us to take a second look. We are very worried about the fact that even recently the Attorney General had made a comment that there's no document fit for prosecution that has come to his attention, or the police is yet to submit document fit. Is that fit? Meaning that there's a document has been presented to him,
but it's not fit.
And so it's very worrying, because you see, we are in this country where the police will mount surveillance immediately as soon as their own is attacked. Recently, when two police officials or officers were attacked at Krasaku, whatever, yes. Right away the police mounted surveillance, and with no traces, with no should I say any information, the police leads with no trace or leads. The police, we know our professional police will do the needful by arresting the perpetrators of this erroneous attack. And so we expected the same police to bring their professionalism to bear. Until now, even as media, as a nation, they have not even briefed us on the state of investigation. The Attorney General said there's no fit. Why? So tell us the information you have. Because you are working for the public. You are working for the media. The media is quite worried, and that we will not sit here and then watch another Ahmed Swale coming up, another media being murdered in cold blood, and will not get into the bottom. Nobody knows who's the next person, you understand, on the target of these evildoers. And so we are very worried. We will continue to, in fact, the last time with the president. The president assured us that he makes sure that Ameswali perpetrators are actually brought to book and face the full rigors of the law. He has about 7 months to go. We are hoping that he will fulfill his words and then heed to that. But we are very worried, and we will continue as an institution, as an association, as a media fraternity. We will continue to advocate. We will continue to amplify our voice for the call for justice for Ahmed Swali.
On the RTI bit? On
the RTI bill, I think that generally we were told that in fact, is no more a bill, it's an act. Is an act, yes. So
is that the RTI law, actually? I said bit earlier, but I think you heard no, not bill.
Okay. So the law, we thought that it was actually helping out in terms of information flow and all that. Yes, notwithstanding, we've also heard about a few challenges, impediment and all that. Yes, with the airport issue, where we are told that you have to find the airport company. Why do you find them? We just need an information. So if you find them, you have to compare them to give them with the necessary information. You understand? We want the RTI Commission as well as the state to know that people at the position of trust are not working for themselves. They are not working for their family. They are working for the country. And whatever information we get is for the public good. We don't assess or we don't request for information because we want to make political gains. We are not politicians. We want to be informed. We are saying that we should be professional and we should not engage in unprofessionalism, yellow journalism. And so, in order not to concoct and create our own fact, we are saying that help us with the fact, so we will be able to communicate.
It's like with the KPMG report.
Of course.
You say white paper, we say let's see the report.
Let's see the report.
Give us the report.
Give us the report. That's all. So for me, I think that once it has come to our attention, we will speak. We will quickly engage with the RTI Commission as well as the Ministry of Information. That's the sector minister, and then make sure that whatever concern that have come up with regards to the information flow from the RTI, I think that we will make sure that they do the needful.
Okay.
We are going to make sure that they enforce the law.
Okay.
The law. Because
as it ought to be.
As it ought to be.
Right.
And not to be protecting any institution or individual.
Before you go, I know you're very passionate about this, the African Media Convention.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about it. It's happening here.
It's happening here. In fact, this is the biggest gathering of the media. We are Accra, Ghana. We are very honored to be hosting the whole Africa here at Accra International Conference Center. It's very historic. In fact, should I say that it all began 3 years ago. The first one took place in Arusha, Tanzania. It is actually an initiative of UNESCO, African Union Commission, the African Editors Forum, and all that. And we happen to be part of the second one, which actually took place in Lusaka, Zambia. I led a delegation of 4, that is from Ghana, to go and bid to host the 3rd edition. In fact, it wasn't an easy. There were other countries who have also put in bid, like Nigeria. We had Senegal, other big countries, some from the North African states and all that. By the grace of God, Ghana won the bid to host the 3rd African Media Convention, making Ghana the first West African country to host this convention.
Right.
And we expected to host over 1,000 participants, which comprise of 600 foreign or international participants. Includes scholars, include media practitioners and journalists. It includes members from the academia, diplomats, our partners, that is international partners like UNESCO, AUC, agencies under the African Union Commission and all that. This is because we want to gather and now think about Africa. And the theme for this 3rd African Media Convention is the African media we want. Enhancing freedom, innovation, and environmental sustainability in a dynamic media landscape. This is what we are all gathering to discuss, to deliberate, to judge, because what is what kind of media do we want in Africa? Is it the media that has come under severe attack? Is it the media which freedom is being undermined, or independence is being undermined by political holders, or maybe people in the position of trust or duty bearers? What kind of African media we want? We are hosting it, Ghana will be hosting it with the Ministry of Information, representing the government of Ghana. And in fact, the GJ is the main host, but we are partnering with the Ministry of Information of Ghana and also several media stakeholders in Ghana. The Media Foundation is a partner, the GIBA is partner, Primpack is partner, of course all institutions including multimedia.
Right.
They are also partner, and the international partners is the AU Commission, UNESCO. We have IFPIM, that is the International Fund, IFPIM, International Fund for Public Interest Media, or whatever. Yeah. So they are also a partner. And so
it's going to be a big event. What is the date?
The date is from the 15th to 17th. In fact, the opening will be...
The 15th is a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, yes, to this week. Yes, and the opening will be done by the President of the Republic. We are expecting the officials from the AU Commission and UNESCO Addis office to also join us. The UN representative here will also be part, including members of the diplomatic community and then the ministers of state. So it's going to be big. I want to use the platform to call on our local journalist media to all show up in our numbers. Let's show interest in this. This is an opportunity to actually network.
Is it free to attend, or is it?
Yeah, it's free. We have to register. We have shared the link. In fact, interestingly, last week, we had exceeded the number, the international participants of over 600. We've exceeded. We were Ghana, our local, that is a media. We haven't gotten the target as of last week when we were addressing the media. We were expecting only 400. And considering the media landscape, we have over 100,000 media practitioners. And this is not only journalists. We said media practitioners, members from the academia, even student journalists and all that.
So this is also a plea for people to get on board.
Yes, but as I speak to you gracefully after a week, I can tell you that
you've got the number.
We have got the number. We still want to outnumber them, and so, like I said, they are over 600. Right. So even though we have hit the target of 400, we're still calling on all. We have allocated slot for our constituent, and so multimedia, you have a slot, and so I'm expecting the Kako to be there at least to moderate one of the sessions.
I hear you. Thanks for the invitation.
Yes, but still on Doomso, we are saying that they should either bring us the timetable for it to guide our activities and operations, because that is the only way we can plan. Erratic power supply means that it's intermittent. You cannot even plan. You can't, because you wouldn't even know when they are even offering the light and all that. It is really battling media owners, and this has come to our attention. And when it happens, it continues to affect our economic indicator ranking, because when I know media practitioners who have not been paid for the past 3 months due to because they need to. So we need to be on air. Yeah. We need to serve the people. If we fold out, if the media fold out, who is going to propagate the policies of government? Yeah. And so we are saying that, with all due respect, we are not interested in the partisan. We are not interested in the commentary around it. What we are interested in is that if the government is not supporting the media bodies, the private media to thrive, what you can do is that at least create the enabling environment for us to be able to thrive. Right. And one of the things is to make sure that at least we have a stable power to able to survive on
do the work we have to. Albert, it's been really good having you join the conversation this morning. Albert Jumfor is president of the Ghana Journalists Association, and we've been talking about a plethora of matters. But stay with us. There's still a lot more action coming your way. And of course, once the Apex Court is ready, we shall connect there as well. But still more conversations coming up. Do stay.
Thank you for staying with us on the AM show. It's time now for us to turn our attention to some corruption-related issues. And I'm sure you are aware that the Yoko and OSP are clashing on this stashed case involving Cecilia Dapaah, with OSP saying that some journalists have been paid and Yoko also fighting back with some claims that OSP is making. But in all of this, what does this mean for our fight against corruption? Joining me for this conversation is Martin Kpebu, a lawyer via Zoom, and Edem Senanu, the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Good morning, sweetie.
Great. Is that Martin Kpebu or Senanu Edem? Who did I hear?
Yes, that's Martin here.
Okay, right.
And this is Edem here also.
Great.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let me start with you, Edem Senanu. I'm sure you've been following on how the issue have, sort of reached a stampede. At this point, does this in any way reflect our readiness or our capacity to fight corruption in this country?
Well, thank you. When you say readiness, evidently we are not ready to fight corruption because I think that perhaps from the AG's level, there should have been an effort to, if necessary, connect with the OSP, connect the OSP to Yoko and just say, look, this is what Yoko is asking for. What are the difficulties? Can we provide the information? There should have been facilitation because that is actually the responsibility and the mandate of the Attorney General, that when there's a crime state, he has an interest in making sure that it is solved. We have priority. There's a difficulty here when only letter is discussed because the person, the legislation, the funds, source of funds are for funds. When you talk about capacity, I don't think it's a lack of capacity.
Your line is breaking. Could you reposition and then pick it up again?
Okay, is it clearer?
Right, it's clearer. Go ahead.
Okay, so if you talk about capacity, I don't think that it's for a lack of capacity. I think that the agencies have a lot of professional with technical know-how. In this instance, a little more collaboration would have gotten us better results. And indeed, just keeping faith with the specific mandates as according to the law, because I don't see how Yoko would say that they don't have anything to investigate. I think that is extremely problematic.
Before I go back, before I bring in Martin Kpebu, the inconsistencies in the reportage, in the details of this case, OSP saying that Yoko did not request for the reports, Yoko saying that they were expected to be provided with these reports, the back and forth. Does it in any way tell us that the absence of evidence in the fight of corruption is inadvertently an evidence of absence?
No, in this instance, as far as we are concerned, the evidence is clear. We know that millions, hundreds and thousands of dollars were found with no explanation. So anybody who says there's no evidence,
that's not the problem. The fact that there's no explanation as to where the money is coming from, and now they're saying there's no reason to even investigate it for money laundering and corruption. Is that not problematic?
So let me put it this way.
Okay.
Evidence there is. It is a lack of willingness, in my view, of the mandated institution to take the issue up and investigate. The mandate of Yoko under this is to investigate. You don't say that an institution did or did not provide you sufficient evidence. Whatever evidence they provided, you still needed to investigate. In this instance, we are clear in our minds that the witness statements that came with the docket are a sufficient basis because they demonstrated the discrepancy between her formal salary or income level and then the properties and monies available to her in millions of dollars. You're not talking CDs. It tells you there's a problem and she has not been able to explain, which is required. So there was actually no reason why Yoko should say they will not investigate. That's a big question. So this back and forth should not be there. As for letters, let me give you an analogy. If a group is responsible for investigating murders, they deal and focus on murders. They go and investigate and do a report on murders. And as they're doing the report on murders, they find that somebody stole. There was a theft. And there's a second group responsible for theft. So they pick the part of the information, which is just a letter, and send it to the group responsible for theft and say that, please, when we were doing our investigation on murders, we found this information that has to be tested. So we've given it to you so you can do your investigation.
Right.
Then the group responsible for theft says that, oh, we want your report on murders. For us to prosecute our case on theft, we want your report on murders. It doesn't make sense because their report will not have anything of value to you.
Adam, I get your point, but I want you to hold for me. Let me bring in Martin Kpebu in at this point. Martin Kpebu is a lawyer. Martin, thank you for joining the conversation. So where does all of this sit with you? I'm sure you've been following the case and the conversation to this point. Please unmute.
Yeah.
Right.
It shows a barefaced attempt to just let Madame Dapaah off the hook, which should not be tolerated in Ghana today. I'm telling you, this is a barefaced attempt. It's so glaring that Attorney General Godfrey Dami and Madam Tiwa Dankwa Yoko boss just want to let Madam Cecilia Dapaah off the hook. I'm telling you, why do I say so? One, and some of the points Adam has already eloquently raised. Listen, sweetie, the docket that was handed over to Madam Tiwa Dankwa has at least 20 statements. So let's say, Sweetie Abochi, you wrote one statement. You told OSP what you know about Madam Dapaah and the money. Adam Sananu wrote another statement. Benjamin Akapu wrote one. Kingsley wrote one. 20. 1, 2, 3, up to 20. That's not a joke. So you see that the blame game Yoko is involved in now with OSP is just an attempt to cover up their failure to take the money that was handed over to Cecilia Dapaah. That's $540,000 cash, hard cash, dollars. If you bring that into Ghana cedis, that's close to what? 6 million Ghana. It's over 6 million Ghana. And over 2.7 million cash. And these are monies that as soon as OSP said he was handing over the docket to Yoko, we started calling on Yoko to make sure that they will be present when OSP is handing over the money, so that Yoko too can seize the money. Because Yoko has the same powers of seizure and freezing as the OSP has. So they can take the money immediately, and then after 7 days, then they go to court. Those same provisions that the OSP use. So, sweetie, listen, as for this case, nobody can convince me that it is not an attempt to cover up Cecilia Dapaah. Nobody can convince me.
Are you saying it's all the institutions involved? Saturday, Martin, are you saying that it is the OSP, Iyoko, and the Attorney General, or it's OSP versus Attorney General and Iyoko? Or it's just all of them in bed together? In your claim that is, they're just trying to...
Not part.
Okay.
OSP is not part of this. It's Attorney General and Iyoko who want to free Madame Dapaah.
Right.
That is what I'm saying. Godfrey Dami was on news file on Saturday. You know that he claimed that Iyoko had finished its investigations and found nothing against Madame Dapaah.
Right.
Meanwhile, the letter that his own subordinate, Evelyn Kilson, wrote said that Iyoko could commence investigations. Yet Godfrey Dami was on news file saying that the investigations had been concluded and nothing was found. So you could see clearly that Godfrey Dami is part of that scheme to free Madame Dapaah. It's very shameful, very shameful that you have your own Attorney General seeking to let go of accused persons without holding them to account.
All right, Martin. Let me come back to Edem Senanu for a wrap. Edem, where does this leave us now? What's the way forward? The docket has been returned to the OSP. OSP said, although it had closed the case, it said it can reopen it if there's a reason to. But how do we move forward from now?
I think that I find two places where some actions, in fact, all of them, I think the OSP can make a public statement indicating the nature of what was handed over to the Yoko and why they could not provide the other data report. I think the OSP can also encourage you to read the FBI report, the potential anti-law. So OSP do and take you. I think to review
opposite. I think let's blunt and frank here. We are all saying that we are not convinced by this position that they cannot investigate.
Right.
Unfortunately, the law is clear. They should act and show us that they are responsive to the citizens of this nation. And then finally, I think that the AG has a strategic role. We ought to be facilitating a solution. We cannot say that we have a public officer who had thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars and nobody knows the source, and she will not explain when the laws require her to do so. And our AG will not make a comment on that. He ought to be facilitating the solution. So there's opportunity for everybody, and we in civil society and media must keep the fire on this issue and make sure that they deliver something that sets a good precedent. Otherwise, we are only helping corruption become much more of an impunity in this country.
Thank you so much, Edem Senan, who's a Citizens Movement Against Corruption member. Martin Pebu, you have about a minute to give me your final words, and then we wrap it up.
Okay, yeah, so what we expect Yoko to do is that, listen, they should go back into the case. It's so clear. What the law says is that when you find plenty cash like this in somebody's house, check the income. And so far, like Edem stated, the income of Madame Dapaah doesn't match that money. And also, the explanation she's giving, funeral donations for the deceased brother, cosmetic business, all those have proven to be false. So this money is something that we would take and we will prosecute her under Section 1, Subsection 3 of the Anti-Money Laundering Act, Act 1044.
Thank you so much, Martin Pebu, who's also a lawyer, for joining the conversation. Well, we have to wrap it up. And like they rightly said, the onus falls on us as citizens and media persons to ensure that we make the powers that be hear our voices in this matter. But before we go, we have photo of the day, and that's coming up on your screens right about now. Wow. This is the effect of pollution, filth, and rain in this country, aptly captured by V. Caleb Mensah. And that's our photo of the day. All right, that's how we're wrapping up for today's edition of the AM show on the Joy News channel. I did this with Benjamin Akaku, and I'm Sweetie Aboshi. Join us again tomorrow for more in-depth analysis, conversations that resonate, and news that matters to you. Thank you. Joy News Desk is up next.